Why have you shut off this beautiful music? Why have you shut it off? You believe it? You just didn't know that the Goat Simulator soundtrack went so hard? Dude. Here, how's this one? This is also from the Goat Simulator soundtrack. How about this one? All right, that's enough of that. Okay, who's ready for space news? All right. All right, let me just see. I'm just gonna kind of put all this stuff together. So what I've been trying to do, and I did this on Monday, I'm trying to organize the quick news here and then the longer topics towards the end. So I'll be real, I'm moving all the Starship stuff at the end because there's been some developments here that are interesting, to say the least. That's there. Put SLS stuff with SLS. Put that over there. Spicy news, please. You won? The tie? What? How does... Huh. How spicy space news today? You think an hour, 5 hours? Pretty decent news cycle. Oh, that's cool. The Tigers taken 2. It took 2 from the Astros. This is best of 5 though, isn't it? You guys went, if the Tigers win one more game, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying nothing. Yeah, well, best of 3. Yeah, but yeah, best of 3. Yeah. It's not a 7-game series. Sorry, you know what I'm trying to say. That
Discovery, go at throttle up.
No, wild card is best of 3. They only needed 2 wins. I'm not saying nothing. I'm not saying nothing. I'm not saying nothing. Are we here in time for space talk? Yeah, Will. Yep. Transmoon. Okay, what do you got? Why don't they capture the flames from the rocket exhaust and pipe the stored flames into some pressure tanks on the site? How? And why? What's the whole point of that, Transposon? I don't understand why you'd want to capture the flames from the rocket. Like, The ones that go into the pad. Why are we doing this again? I'm getting my postseason games confused with hockey. That's what was going on there. That dude, wild card, yeah, wild card is best of three. Son. I asked you why, and you replied with a dabbing emote. Okay, all right, sweet. Let's start space news with the video. Okay. Okay. Here, we got a video. This is a good one. Let's see. Answering big questions about the universe requires something new. So we went to work building it. It's a hexagon. Now it's, oh, reaction wheels. Did you see those? Reaction wheels. Cool. Partners developed key hardware. Crank the bass. And systems were tested. In a centrifuge. Cool. In a world. Partners, synergy. Investors, possibly you. Sun shield, vacuum chamber. Now it comes together. Nice. Antenna deployed. Cool. It's a nice mirror. So I think the Nancy Roman satellite is in the final phases of assembly. I'm pretty sure they're in the final phases of assembly. I think I got that from, yeah, what we saw here. Either way, really cool. Really cool. These are all the pieces of the telescope. Look at that wire harness. That's a lot. That wire harness looks complicated. Wow. Hang on one second. Have you seen the field of view on that thing? I seen something right around here, right around that point. I saw something. PATFE, flavored spaghetti. So this is the Nancy Roman Space Telescope, which is pretty cool. Oh, did you at the very beginning? That guy was holding some. Reaction wheels, guys. I don't know if you can see. There they are, right there. Cool. Gyros. That's what a real life SAS module looks like. Sweet. What will the telescope observe? I have to look it up. I have to look it up what type of telescope this is. I think it's infrared. Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope, shortened as the Roman Space Telescope, formerly the Wide Field Infrared Survey Telescope. Yeah, W first. Yeah. There we go. That is picture. He's hexagon. He's nice. Cool. It's scheduled to launch to Sun Earth L2. Okay. In May of 2027. Oh, still a little ways away, guys. Hold on. I'm reading real quick. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, infrared. It's good stuff, man. Good stuff. Good to see more spaceflight hardware for science getting built. The Roman is moving towards the next stage of construction, bringing all the components together. There we go. All right, excellent, cool. Speaking of bringing all the components together, here, check out this next one. This is teams at NASA Kennedy installed 4 quad pods around the Artemis 3 SLS core engine section on September 10th to support the engine assembly during operations. There you go. Quad pods. They pick up on the it looks like they're picking up on the SRB hold down points. Or at least parts of them. Next up, the engine section will be transferred to Kennedy's vehicle assembly building for final integration. Ah? One of the last few things to be built at Goddard for the time being. Oh, here. Let's check. Okay, this is probably useful. Hubble's mirror is 2.4 meters. Webb is 6.5. Roman is 2.4. Oh, nice. I'm sorry? Damn. Wow. That's yeah, I'm really happy that we went they did that. That's a good idea. It's going out with James Webb, which is pretty cool with the James Webb satellite. They seem to be going to to similar areas. That's pretty awesome. This PDF's a little outdated, but that's yeah, the wideband infrared. It's right in the name. Yeah, that's wide. That's a lot of width. The Roman Space Telescope was also built to be serviced robotically. Interesting. Cool. Teams at NASA Kennedy installed, they installed the quad pods around the engine section. That's the Artemis 3 That's the Artemis 3 MPS. Why is it? It's not white. Who is Nancy Roman? Give me 1 second. I'm going to say, oh, she worked at NASA, but no, it's yeah. She was an American astronomer who made important contributions to stellar classification and motions. First female executive at NASA, Roman served as NASA's first chief of astronomy throughout the 1960s and 70s, establishing her as one of the visionary founders of the U.S. civilian space program. Yeah, that's pretty awesome, actually. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. What are the quad pods for? These pick up, looks like on the bow tail attachment point, and those are the SRB attachment points. Actually, no, those are too wide to be. These are for being able to install the engines on it, dude. It's interesting. Next up is the engine section will be transferred to the VAB for final integration. Man, I knew that sending this stuff to the SSPF at Kennedy would make this go faster. I didn't think it would make it go that much faster. That was fast, dude. The Artemis 3 MPS made it to the Cape not too long ago, which is pretty cool. They're already looking at engine integration, which is Oh, jeez. Come on. More water. Stop making me yawn, chat. They changed SLS's processing flow around in 2022. Rather than just have the entire core stage be built at Michoud, they would build all the pieces at Michoud and then assemble the main propulsion system at Kennedy. The reason why is because of the Space Station Processing Facility, the SSPF. So I don't think I need to say what the Space Station Processing Facility is for or was used for. It's a gigantic freaking clean room that was used to build all the modules for the ISS. Yeah, see, there's Columbus. That's on the ISS. That's a PMM right there, I think. That's Destiny down there, right? It was used to make all of them. It's a gigantic clean room environment, meaning it's like surgical. And that's the SLS engineers the SLS engineers figured out that it would be better to assemble the main propulsion system there in a clean room environment. Because the main propulsion system is essentially the back of a space shuttle. It basically needs to be assembled like a spaceship because it is the back of a space shuttle. Class 10,000, 1,000 from the looks of it. It is a big clean room, yeah. So they thought, oh, we're not using the Space Station Processing Facility anymore. Like, there's no more space station modules to send up. So now the SLS, see, that's in the SSPF right there, I think. It looks like the same room, but yeah, that's it. Well, no, they're going to assemble the rest of the core stage there, Hellfish. So the forward skirt, LOX tank, inner tank, hydrogen tank all get made and assembled there. They just ship it without the MPS. The MPS gets assembled or manufactured there, and then it gets manufactured there, and then it gets assembled in the SSPF. And I'll be honest with you, that seems like it was a good idea because that thing just got to the Cape. If they're already looking at engine integration here, that's insanely quick. That's actually pretty fast. I don't recall off the top of my head when the Artemis 3 engine section, the Artemis 3 MPS got there, but I'm pretty sure they shipped it with Core Stage 2, which was just got there. That's actually super fast. It essentially uses a wide-angle lens instead of a zoom lens. See last. Oh, okay. Telescope is such a wide field of view because it's not as high of a zoom as the others. It's for seeing the big picture instead of extremely detailed. Yeah, it's the Nikon P1000 of space telescopes. I wonder how many cores the VAB could store. They could put like 5 or 6 of them in there easily. Remind me why a clean room is required again. Rockets in the past didn't need them, right? It needs a clean room once again, Super. It needs one because, okay. All right, I'll use the next bit of space news here. So, see the white part, this piece with the engines on core stage 2? You see that? That right there is the SLS MPS, Space Launch System Main Propulsion System, all right? Now, do you know anybody here who knows their history? What's that thing? See that thing right there? What's that? It was sent over the middle of last year. It's still pretty damn quick, Thomas. Well, year and a half. Yeah, it's good enough. That's the shuttle main propulsion. The shuttle main propulsion test article. The MPTA was used to green run the space shuttle program. They basically, instead of building an entire shuttle and putting it on a test stand with the external tank attached, they just used the engine section. They made the back of a space shuttle, a fully functioning back of the space shuttle with no ohms pods and no tail, and they put that on the test stand with an external tank, the B2 test stand, the same one that they green run SLS on, and fired it. So that's real. That's a real shuttle tail section. That right there, but cylindric with 4 engines, is what SLS, the MPS, is. So Super, and this is right from one of my buddies that worked at Michoud. Like, he's the one that explained this to me, because I asked the same question when they did it. I'm like, why would they do that? That's basically a spaceship. It's a spaceship. The back of it is a shuttle. It's a shuttle engine section. It's just cylindric with 4 engines instead of 3, right? So it's a cylinder version of that. And because of that, because you're using RS-25s and all the paraphernalia that you need to get the RS-25s to do their thing, right? You basically got to build it like the back of a spacecraft. So a clean room environment is needed to assemble spaceships. So they assemble the MPS in there. It's really freaking annoying because it's expendable and you have to treat it like a spaceship. One of the reasons why it's kind of hilarious that we ended up putting RS-25s on the bottom of an expendable rocket. But whatever. You all know why. That's annoying, but hey, whatever. Shuttle C, is that you? Hey, what's up, Zay? So yeah, Super, does that make sense? Measurement of devices that need perfect calibration and function. A dust mite could seriously screw up the electronics, lenses and so on. Yep. Spacecraft require that key. Yeah, exactly. That's a better way to put it, dude. Yeah, that clears it up. So yeah, they thought the SSPF was a good place to put it. And also, Thomas, so he said it's been there for a freaking year, huh? Interesting. Oh yeah, here's a shot of the MPTA when they put it on the test stand with the external tank. It's basically they basically built the back of a space shuttle and put it on a load cell on the B2 test stand. Yep. So yeah, that's pretty good. Artemis 3 core is there. It's ready to go, or we're getting ready for engine assembly, which if it's off to the VAB, that means it's final assembly. But the 2 core, the one that is completed, the Artemis 2 core stage, is there. NASA actually waited. Yep, they waited. They picked it up and for trajectory optimization. They in the VAB, they picked it up and they put a scale on the crane. Turns out the core stage weighs 215,910 pounds, which is it's about 100 tons, give or take. Nice. Most spacecraft aren't made in a tent with a bunch of scraps. Yeah. The ML is going to roll to the VAB tomorrow, apparently. Somebody was in chat in here a little bit earlier, Thomas, saying it already rolled. You could bench that? Sure. They should have captured the shuttle flames in a glass jar. The shuttle doesn't make flames, it makes water vapor, so you just get a glass of water if you were somehow able to do that? Question? Dost thou even hoist? Mm-hmm. It almost weighs as much as your mom. Oh! One of us is trolling you. Yep. Okay, cool. Some good SLS news. Supposedly the mobile launcher is going to move. Supposedly not. We don't know. Anyway, next bit of quick news. So this is coming from Jack Kerr. I don't really know. Writing about space at payload space. Okay. Axiom co-founder Cam Gafarian posted this awesome new view of the Axiom Station's ISS HAB-1 module on LinkedIn. The module will soon be shipped from Thales Alenia in Italy to Houston. It looks like it might be missing some parts. CT2 is under the ML, but there hasn't been any movement. Thank you. ML is still on the pad. Thank you, gentlemen. Interesting. Extra fun thing about the Roman Space Telescope, you know that wide field sensor, it includes equipment to take spectrograms of everything in the field of view at once. That neat. Not really sure exactly why that's neat, but if you're telling me I'll bet you that's neat. Cool. So these Axiom modules. Interesting. That's interesting considering what we heard from Axiom the other day, but that's still cool. Follow the hardware, right? Interesting. Yeah, four-axis module. Which vehicle can assemble this? The Axiom modules have a service module. Here, I'll show you. So it's interesting because that looks a lot like an ISS module, right? But if you go and look at this, all right, you have your cylindric section that looks like the ISS module, which is what you see in that picture. That's this piece, right? That's the cylindric section. Well, that's the node. That's the node one. What you were looking at is this module with the windows on it. It's Windows! Now, what these modules have on the back is a toroidal service module. So, here, if we looked at a cross-section of this module, right? You'd have your docking port at the front, right? And then you have your pressure segment, your pressurized segment right here, right? And then on the back of the module, it does something like this. And then there's a pipe, right, that goes out to the back to another docking port. And in this area right here is a service module. How that would look, right, if we have like kind of an exploded view, is right, it's a donut. It's a donut-shaped service module, like that. See? That's what that is right there. That's not an arrow, EJ. That's not an arrow either. There we go. That's what this piece is right here. See what I'm talking about? So their modules have their own propulsion, so they can dock. They're also using, from this render, it looks like they're using an NDS derived. That looks like a passive NDS. Same port that Dragon and Starliner use. But it does look like they're... They cannot, no, these can't dock themselves. They have grapple points and they're using a CBM. I'm not sure what they're using on their axial vector right there. If they're using NDS on their axial, so on the long axis for the space station with CBMs around it, you're going to need a robotic arm. Those are absolutely common berthing mechanisms, and those are absolutely provisions for common berthing mechanisms right there. You know it's a CBM because of the square hatch. See the square hatch? Square hatch, round docking port, CBM all day. The reason why they're using this standard right there, why you're using the common berthing mechanism, is so ISS racks can fit in this. That's the whole idea. The entire space station was engineered around modular lockers that the ISS can use, and this CBM is big enough to move them through. CLAS for an updated render. Okay, updated. Thank you, Thomas. Since every module has their own propulsion system, does the fuel in the modules get pooled into one? No. No. That doesn't work that way. It looks like, yeah, see, some of these have a berthing mechanism and other ones don't. But you can see they all, guys, these are basically, I hate saying this. I hate saying this, and I shouldn't say it this way. And it's not the right way to say it because it downplays what they're doing. Those are just Cygnus in space station form. That's what they are. It's just it's the same exact idea as Cygnus, except it's a toroidal service module, but it's the same idea. It's freaking Cygnus. Cygnus will never die. Dude, it is. Cygnus isn't that far off. The only thing is that Cygnus doesn't have a docking port on the back end. This has a different service module, but it's the same kind of setup, which is really funny. Who's making the docking arm? I don't know, to be honest with you. And even if they were going to launch it, I don't know how they're going to launch it. If I had to, how they're going to get another arm up there without a space shuttle is beyond me. I mean, they could package it up, I suppose, on like Falcon 9 or something, or one of these modules. But that module is clearly grayed out. Look at that arm. It's gray. It's not rendered. It's just Lambert gray compared to the textured and rendered bits of the Axiom modules over here. That might be the SSRMS. Maybe the Axiom station will lift Canadarm 2 and take it with it when it detaches, which I would be all about that. That would be really, that's a good idea. You should do that. How big can the ISS get before it's too big? So Blue, it can get to a certain tonnage. I don't know what that tonnage is off the top of my head, but it's somewhere above 400 tons. That's what it is right now. The ISS is a massive 400 tons. That's as heavy as super heavy with no fuel in it. Actually, it's heavier than that. That's super heavy with a quarter tank of gas. That's a lot. It's a big space station, man. It will be assembled on the front of the ISS before leaving. Yeah, Thomas, I think that's grayed out for a reason. I think Axiom's going to take the remote manipulator. That's a great idea. Please do that, because that'll allow this station to be. That'll allow the Axiom station to be able to receive Cygnus. You have CBMs and the freaking. Dude, they planned that. They had to have. There's no way that they didn't. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Look, yep, see, you got an airlock module, right? Airlock module with its own propulsion. Two core node modules there. One solar panel module over there, and then the cupola module over here. More Cygnus with your Cygnuses. Anyway, that's super cool. It belongs in a museum. No, keep using it. Frick putting it in a museum. Frick that, man. I don't want to see. Outdated hardware belongs in the museum. The Canadarm is still super useful. Do not put that in a museum. Keep using it. Anyway, that's Thomas, it seems like they nixed their solar panel, that huge solar panel tower idea that they had going on. And they just put solar panel modules, roll out solar arrays on their modules. I'm not sure why they'd do that, but I'm sure there was a good reason. But yeah, there you go. That's one of the modules right there. Yeah, Headman, there you go. Interesting. The ISS belongs in a museum. Starship should go and get it. Starship should go and get it. You can call me a SpaceX fanboy. You say, but the modules... Starship should go and get it. Yep. Have Canadarm too. Starship should dock radially to the space station, open its payload bay doors, and they'll have the space station remote manipulator system put the modules in Starship's payload bay. Or SpaceX is just cooking up their own robotic arm. I don't see why you wouldn't. The power tower turned into the bottom one, right? They just removed the power stuff from it and it's just an airlock now. Yep. Yeah, maybe. Build a museum in space and put the ISS inside. Fun fact, the ISS was supposed to do something like that originally, Andrew. Not exactly like that. It wasn't exactly supposed to be a museum, but putting stuff inside of the ISS floating around in space was part of the original plan. Yep. Before the space station, before they basically axed the project and gave us the ISS, we had Space Station Freedom. And one of the designs for Space Station Freedom that they were tooling around is that. That's called the dual keel space station. And the dual keel space station would have had clean rooms inside of it for satellite servicing. So the shuttle would go and get a satellite. You'd have a shuttle mission. Shuttle would fly up. It would go and grab the satellite like Hubble, bring the satellite to the space station. They'd grab it with the arm, put it inside of a clean room, and then do an EVA into the clean room. It's not pressurized, but it's like a micrometeorite shield, but it's a clean room environment for the most part. Like, I mean, the whole thing is a clean room. It's the vacuum, but you get the idea. Wouldn't they use space tugs to bring in the sats? Shuttle could do it, or a tug, whatever. You could use a... Cygnus could do it. Anyway. Yeah, they deemed this too complicated and too expensive. Also, Space Station Freedom was supposed to have RCS. Note the thruster blocks on different parts of the space station. We had plans for an orbital shipyard and we axed them. Norman Augustine. Admana. That's the guy that got Space Station Freedom canceled. Just saying. Actually, it wasn't technically him. He got Space Station Freedom canceled, but before that, an astronaut looked at the dual keel space station and said, this is way too complicated. Someone will get killed trying to make this. And they lopped the dual keel off and just kept one truss segment. They got rid of this part. They got rid of that part and said, just build this instead. And then later down the road, with the next segment of space, the next revision for Space Station Freedom was called the revised baseline. Give me 1 second. I'm drinking water to not yawn. That's what they came up with, which is looks a lot more like what we see. But even this had way more capability. This had a centrifuge on board. It had a centrifuge on board. It had a bunch of stuff. This had RCS as well for station keeping right there. And it had the gyros were somewhere else. I don't remember off the top of my head. Station has Riz. Yeah, you have the twin modules next to each other. So how this would have worked is you would have had node 1 and node 2, right? Node 1, node 2, the Destiny module, the US HAB module, the Columbus module, and the Kibo module. All the modules that are up on the ISS. Except that the US HAB module would have had a centrifuge in it. Actually, there would have been a separate one, but that's another story. Yeah, and then there's the PMMs. Those ended up flying. Most of this stuff ended up flying, but it kind of explains all the modules that got made. Space Station Freedom would have had its own power. I mean, obviously, its own power system, but its own propulsion system that's designed to bolt to the. It's designed to bolt to the truss segments here. See the RCS blocks, right? And then from there, these could be serviced just like everything else on the baseline configuration, like what they do now. So the shuttle could come up with they could take a propulsion module off. Note how there's two of them, right? They could take a propulsion module off, put it on the shuttle, bring it back down, refuel it, bring it back up, install it back in place. Oh, believe me, I did a bunch of reading about this thing. Yeah, yep. Also, Space Station Freedom had a much bigger truss segment than the ISS does. This would have been way bigger. Yeah. I think so, Tessa, yeah. And then the control moment gyros are up at the top too. Those became the Z1 truss segment, but basically, when the first Augustine Commission came around, they looked at how many of these components were like getting ready to, like a good way into construction, and anything that wasn't a good way into construction, they said, screw that, don't make that. And then the stuff that they didn't have figured out in the 90s, like the propulsion systems, they said, no, screw that, get rid of that. It's redundant. Work with the Russians instead. Yeah, so Space Station Freedom got canceled because it was too expensive, and they replaced it with the ISS to save costs. We got more factory building tomorrow, Reindeer. So the station topic, do you think a space elevator would be plausible? We could do it, Dr. Death, if we could build something 23,500 miles tall. Pretty sure we have trouble even getting something 1 mile tall, let alone 23,000. 23,500 is how you'd need to build, is how tall you'd need to build a space elevator in order to get it to stay fixed. Because the space elevator needs a counterweight. Counterweight needs to be a geosynchronous, and it needs to keep the space elevator taut. Could it be done? Sure. If we had a better way to get up there, maybe. Why? Why, though? Space elevators on Earth don't really make sense to me, to be honest with you. I'm not saying we couldn't do it. It's a pretty cool idea. But space elevators to orbit don't make sense to me for the same reason that building a bridge to Europe doesn't make sense. Could we build a bridge across the Atlantic? A floating one? Yeah, maybe. Sure. I don't see why you'd want to, but you could. But the container ship is probably a better idea. Man. But anyway, not saying it couldn't be done. I just don't think it's a good idea. I think we should just use rockets and then build a space station or something. But anyway, yeah, a little bit on space stations. All right, cool. So Axiom stuff is looking... That's good, man. I mean, but that's still a ways off. You're missing some pieces like doors. But still cool. Until continental drift stretches the bridges and it breaks. Continental drift. Yeah, we'd be waiting a while. Anyway, all right, so this is... Actually, this belongs over here. So... ULA yesterday, while we were building out our flame trench in Satisfactory, ULA conducted a full wet dress rehearsal for Vulcan Cert 2. Rem, I knew someone was going to make that joke. A wet dress rehearsal is basically a simulated count where you do everything but launch it at the last second. There we go. Yeah, you get right down to the simulated count, right? You get right to T-minus 2 seconds, and then you abort the rocket. That's what a wet dress rehearsal is. That was a time lapse there from Tori Bruno. It went very well, as planned. All of the data gets formally reviewed tomorrow in a launch readiness review, which will authorize proceeding to flight on Friday. Yeah, we have Cert 2 on the board. Pretty good. There you go. We are go for the launch of the Vulcan rocket on Cert 2 flight test. This was today. So, yeah, they're Friday at 6 a.m. because... Okay, Phil, I'll do it. So speaking of Vulcan, it's interesting that this spot in the LNG tank is not covered in spray-on foam insulation. I think that's what this other Space News link was about. Why did you guys add an insulator to the LNG tank after Cert 1? Because the aero heating onto the tank was slightly higher on Cert 1 than predicted. This will give us just over 1 second more usable propellant. Oh, there you go. And it looks like they didn't get all of it. Interesting. There's just one bit that's not there. Huh. Give me 1 second. Just one strip on one side of the tank's kind of weird to see. It's got to be for some type of testing certification, Thomas, or something. I don't know. That's a little strange. I'm not sure why you do that. That's weird. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I had to turn the fans down. All right, so there we go. Good stuff. 6 a.m. on Friday. So, while I have your attention, here's how this is going to work. Satisfactory tomorrow. We'll play Satisfactory. I might do all the way through, and then what we can. Yeah, the next 2 days are going to suck. Any updates on Astra? I've heard nothing except for some updates a little while ago on Rocket 4.0 Tiberius, but not much, no. They've been pretty quiet. I want to do another big Satisfactory stream tomorrow. Hopefully that's satisfactory with you. But with this 6 a.m. launch, what we could do is cover the launch and then just stream Satisfactory until the flame trench. It's not a bad idea. Yeah, we're going to have to play around with Thursday's schedule. Let's just say that, okay, you're going to get a lot of Satisfactory on Thursday, but yeah. I got to make more progress on that damn thing. Yeah, either way, Friday's going to be a big, long... Reed just came in dancing. You guys didn't see it. It was off stream.
That was on purpose so they didn't see it. I hope they heard it though.
I think it picked up a little bit. Sean, I haven't gotten to that point yet. Is the doggo here?
Doggo's right here.
Titan!
Take the doggo.
Titan!
Look at Daddy.
Come here. Hey, come on up here. Hi. How you doing? Hi, buddy. Hi, buddy.
Tigers won again. Tigers won again. That's all we do is win.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What'd you do last season?
Shut up. We don't talk about last season.
Okay. You guys eliminated the Astros.
We eliminated the Astros. For the first time since 2017, the Astros will not proceed to the ALDS.
Oh. Oh. Titan, did you bring me any modular frames?
No.
Did you bring me any rotors or stators?
I don't.
I need some. Hang on. Hey, come here. Sit. See, he already knows. Paw. Okay. There you go. Jeez. This dog's too smart. You're too smart. You're too smart. You're a smart boy. Get out of here.
I'm done.
He's like, nah, you don't have food. I'm out.
I'm done. All right, I need to go eat. But
All right, baby.
love you, bibs.
Love you too.
You
Congratulations.
guys won again.
Congratulations. Because all you do is win sometimes. Anyway. So yeah, we got Cert 2 Friday at 6 a.m. That's, oh. Don't let him see you treat the other Titan. No, he doesn't. He doesn't. Don't worry. Don't worry. She jinxed it. Yep. Will there be an after hours today? Yeah. Yeah, after hours. Yep. Thank the Lord. I hate the Trastros. The Astros are like this decade's Yankees. Everybody hates them. But everybody still hates the Yankees too. How old is Titan? Titan is 2 years old. Thereabouts. We rescued him, Tiberius, in June. Yeah, he's about to. He's a good boy. So all the stuff that he did, sit, paw up. He knows how to lie down. Yeah, I spend a lot of time with the dog, dude. I spend a lot of time teaching the dog and playing with him and training him. Takes a lot of time. I have a feeling you're not at Space Command Headquarters. Space Command Headquarters is not a thing. This is EJSA Mission Control. See how? Read the sign. Read the sign. Don't make me tap the sign. I love Texas as a whole, but the only good thing in Houston is NASA. Oh, damn. That man is playing Galaga. Well, Friday night racing scrub because of Vulcan. I'm not doing Friday night racing this week, guys. I know it's 2 weeks off in a row. Sorry about that. That's totally my bad. With Crew 9, like I had to miss it. I'm not doing it I already told Max and the rest, or I told Max. I haven't told anybody else yet. But anyway, we are not doing racing because Ernok's coming into town. And we're going to finish the Camaro so I can fix the Coronet, which needs help. Yep, needs help. Yep. EJSA Mission Control actually has more computer monitors. Yep. Did you see that, Scott? Did you see that, Scott, a chance to fly the Boom Supersonic in the simulator, and you see that what the sim was called? No. Coronet is overdue. Yeah, Thomas, that thing needs help. It also needs a big block, but it also needs help too. Now that's cool, Tessa. Neat. Great rescue, big heart. He's a good boy, Tiberius. And I know that everybody says that about every dog, because it's true about every dog. Every dog's a good boy. Okay, but Titan has gotten so much better because we've been training him, and it's finally registering in his peanut brain that we're not going to leave. We're not going to leave him. Everybody says it takes about 3 months, and surely enough, here we are 3 months, and his like demeanor's completely changed. Like, yeah, he's a lot. He's not as like, he listens to us, you know. Like, did you see? I mean, he listened to me. He even knew what I was gonna say. The sim was called Spaceballs the Simulator. Nice. Boom is cool, man. The more I hear about Boom Supersonic, the more I like them. Bill, you got a Trans Am in the shop right now, 1980, with 175 horsepower. Hey, look at that. Nader, you're doing some flying for an aviation charity, flying supplies into NCTN for the flood victims. Do you mind if I post a link to the organization in your Discord? No, go ahead, man. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Titan, yeah, it takes a second for the dog to realize what's going on, Erudite, yeah. So, didn't the Astros get caught cheating not too long ago? They did, Dave. Those filthy Fargan cheaters. Yeah, they did. Sucks. Anyway, yes, Titan's gotten way better, like way better. Like you see, I mean, you saw it. When I called him, came over, and then when I had treats, he really came over. Dogs take after their owner. You're good. Oh, jeez, that means Titan's gonna hyper focus on stuff. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, he hyper focuses on bunnies. He gets locked in if there's a bunny, and he doesn't listen to you. He still does that, but anyway. According to the specs, it's only going to use twice the fuel per mile per passenger as a conventional flight. Considering it's over 3 times faster, that's pretty good. But guy, Bubbles, tier 1 6 month in advance. Thanks, man. Cool. Anyway, so Cert 2 is at 6 a.m. That, you know what that means? That means that streams, their coverage of it is probably going to start way before that if the launch time is at 6 a.m. I really wish it was 9 instead of 6, but hey, whatever. Thank you, posted. Appreciate it. All good, man. All good. All good.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Sup, so long, Astros. The Stros got eliminated by the Tigers. That's kind of embarrassing. But hey, whatever. Dogs replace pandas in the Chinese zoo. Man, I saw that, dude. I saw that. I actually know what you're talking about. They spray painted the dogs to look like pandas. Don't ask. I saw that in my travels on the internet. They weren't even convincing, right? Dude, I forgot about that. It's pretty damn. They painted the dogs to look like pandas. Oh my god. It's fine. It looks like one. It's fine. Oh, that's pretty good, man. Okay. All right. That was the good laugh. But anyway, yeah, Cert 2 is at 6 a.m. I'm gonna be here for it. We'll be here. We'll commit. This will be the second flight of Vulcan, and this one is actually launching with a mass simulator payload. And Cert 2 will certify Vulcan for Department of Defense missions. This mission was Cert 2 was supposed to launch with it was supposed to launch with Dream Chaser, but they yeah, Dream Chaser wasn't ready in time, unfortunately. Yeah. ULA is like, we're ready, you ready? And Sierra Space is like, no. Yeah? No? Your spacecraft's still in pieces. Are you ready? No. That's how that happened. That's exactly how that went down. Just thought I'd let you know. Define ready. What is that? What does that mean? What does that mean? What are they launching on it if not Dream Chaser? A block of metal. Why is it barking? I don't know. Anyway. Here, this is coming from Jeff Faust. There's a couple of extra notes from the Cert 2 briefing. ULA still expects to launch SF-106 and 87 missions, first national security Vulcan flights this year, assuming Cert 2 goes well. 20 launches next year, split half and half between Atlas and Vulcan. First Atlas 5 Kuiper launch slips to early next year. Room in the manifest next year for Dream Chaser, but no dates set. Interesting. There's no mass simulator, just more experiments for Centaur upgrades. I could have sworn I read mass simulator somewhere, Thomas, but I'll defer to your judgment. They're testing long duration Centaur missions. That's why I deferred to your judgment. There you go, Phil. All right, cool. Good to know. Long duration Centaur, that's something I can get behind. Like weeks to months, which is insane. Centaur 5, dude. Centaur 5 is an excellent could make an excellent orbital tug. It would be amazing. Yeah, I could have sworn I read that somewhere, Ben. I could have sworn, but hey, whatever. Centaur experiments is better. Anything's better than a block of metal. Anything's better. Do an experiment or something. Yeah, that's better. I'll take it. That's fine. Send it around the moon. Yeah, do something. Exactly. There you go. Any word on Starship Flight 5? I'm getting to that, believe it or not. Do you guys want to talk about potential news? Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. Okay, on to the longer news segment. So this is Christian Davenport from the Washington Post. Several commercial companies, including SpaceX, are upset at the FAA that their preferred member of ComStack is not allowed on the advisory board. Apparently, the reason... Wait, what? Hold on. I don't know what this means. Several commercial space companies, including SpaceX, are upset at the FAA that their preferred member of ComStack is not allowed on the advisory board. Apparently, the reason is the FAA says no lobbyists. This comes as SpaceX and Elon are feuding with the FAA, but other companies like Blue and Rocket Lab are unhappy as well. What's ComStack? I don't know what that means. It's not October. Someone was spreading misinformation that it was October 18th. Interesting. I don't know what that is. Huh. Commercial Space Transportation Advisory Committee. That looks to be right. Thank you for the link. Interesting. Huh. Yeah, see, here's the thing. If one thing can be taken away from the whole SpaceX FAA thing, guys, I don't think that anybody should have to there should be less paperwork or less process here. The FAA is deliberate on purpose. Like it has to be this way. However, I think SpaceX is onto something here because Rocket Lab and Blue are trying to up their launch cadences as well. So what happens when Blue starts launching as much as SpaceX does? Then what? Then what are you going to do? I think SpaceX is in the right for trying to, at least at the very least, increase the bandwidth of the FAA to be able to keep up with their changes. At the very least. Because, yeah, when Blue starts rolling around and starts launching New Glenn like every week, and then ULA, 20 launches throughout the year, that's no joke. It's going to start to get, it'll go even slower, which is no good. So the guy the companies want is a lobbyist. And then Rocket Lab with Neutron, yep. Elon should just build an island in the middle of the ocean. Yeah, his companies are all registered in the United States, Squarish. It wouldn't matter. You're beholden to the country of origin's aviation laws that your companies are in. So unless he established his own country on this island, which then it violates ITAR, right? because you're exporting to another nation, you got a big problem here. It's basically inevitable, which is why I'm pretty sure Elon probably thought about whether he could do that or not. Yep. Why are they dismantling the CC-8800 at Starbase? I thought they needed for chopsticks and ship quick disconnect. Don't know. This organization is going to ruin all their plans. Yeah, who knows? Anyway, let's jump up here. So that's interesting to note that. I'm not sure how much this can be verified or not, but an interesting thing popped up, guys. This is coming from my buddy Ryan at NSF, and then Adrian has words on it as well. U.S. Coast Guard documentation indicates a net launch date of SpaceX's Starship Flight 5 of October 12th between 7 and 8 local time. This is 6 weeks earlier than what had been previously said publicly by SpaceX and at the FAA. This is a NOTMAR, or Notice to Mariners, and is just a warning. It's just a warning to mariners operating offshore. This has nothing to do with a launch license. But NOTMARs are usually a step in the right direction for that launch license, interestingly enough. And Adrian reached out to the FAA regarding this. The FAA confirmed that the statement from September 11th still stands, and Flight 5 is not expected before late November. Yeah, so I'm not sure what this is about. So NASA and the Department of Defense can issue launch licenses. If it's their mission, James, they can shoulder the risk. Yeah. I'm wondering what this is. The FAA has no notice to airmen on the upcoming IFT-5. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I'm wondering what that could be. I don't know. I don't know. I would, at first I'm like, oh, maybe they'll do a suborbital Starship test, but they got rid of those pads. Unless they want to launch something out of Massey's, which I highly doubt. Like, highly doubt. It's important to note that SpaceX will not have their deluge permit by then. A public meeting is set for the 17th for this permit. It will likely take several weeks after that. Interesting. It's probably left over. It's probably something that went through that, like, had the FAA granted them a launch license. This was probably SpaceX just, before this whole debacle with the FAA happened. That's probably what this is, guys. It's kind of a nothing burger. Just put some of the coordinates in Google Earth. It's for a full stack launch. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Could NASA say it's their mission because of Starship's role in the Artemis program? That kind of remains to be seen, Dave, but they could. Yeah, I don't know if they will, but they could. Like I said, yeah, it's possible. Some yell 5 the problem out on the deluge permit because I don't get it. They need a more. The EPA and the FAA say that SpaceX needs a more individualized permit for wastewater discharge because the general permitting application in Texas was not sufficient enough to kind of cover all the bases for a rocket pad deluge system. SpaceX was operating under the general permit and everybody was fine with it. And then the EPA decided that they needed a more individualized permit based off of what they saw. And they decided they weren't fine with it anymore. And then SpaceX launched a couple more things under the general permit after they decided that. And the FAA and the EPA are like, you launched without a license. And SpaceX is like, no, we didn't. And yeah, there's your whole fiasco in about 30 seconds. This is all over dumping clean water on the ground. I know, goalie. Yeah, I know. I don't think it's bullcrap, but yeah, I just, it's very interesting to me how it was fine and then it's not fine all of a sudden. But it's not, though. Once it gets introduced to the plate, it becomes industrial wastewater. Yeah, Thomas, yeah, I understand that, but also at the same time, now it's just steam. That's all. So it's steam, and now it's hot water, industrial hot drinking water. Like, but they want it. They want to be sure. So they were fine with it before. They ain't fine with it now. I doubt it's clean or potable after it's been exposed to the plume. The water is probably considerably more or less acidic than potable. What? Where would that come from? The hydrogen and carbon that's being introduced into it? Or maybe that oxygen? Yeah. So you guys, why do you guys have so many government agencies? I don't know. There's a whole argument of that's a huge issue in the United States about more or less government, and I'm not getting into it, dude. Um, but yeah, guys, the interesting thing here, you guys got to remember, all right? So you got to remember that even the EPA and the FAA themselves says SpaceX does not need to change anything with their deluge system. They don't need to change anything. This whole fiasco is over paperwork. Yeah. That's it. The whole fiasco is over paperwork. Yeah. Yep. It's kind of like I said, I'm all for it. You should, like, guys, the process is there for a reason. Like, when it comes to aviation and stuff, the FAA isn't your enemy, but they're not your friend either, but they're not your enemy. That's the right way to look at it, right? But also at the same time, once again, someone complained to the EPA. The EPA worked off of a complaint, right? And that complaint, started this whole individual versus generalized permit fiasco. Like, once again, I'm just very interested. We should be able to know who complained, but yeah, that's kind of how that went down. Now, that, keep in mind, that is totally different than the whole Falcon 9 fines and stuff. That's another thing. That's a whole different story. I mean, the OIG also works on complaints. Yeah. Jeff Bezos is the guy that complained. Ben, that's who my money's on, but who knows? There's been several lawsuits over them using the system, one by Save RGV. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Until we have a Karen problem. I don't know. It is what it is, guys. I can only tell you what's going on. You guys think whatever you want. Like, I don't know. You have to follow the rules. You got to follow the rules. But then again, it's annoying when the rules just arbitrarily change, you know. But, like, I don't know. Hopefully, the best case scenario here is that this forces a regulatory framework rework that allows for flying more frequently. Once again, I think SpaceX is doing it for a number of reasons. They got to get, first and foremost, they got to launch Starship. They have to launch it because they have to deliver a lander in 2 years. That's not a long time scale to be able to deliver a lander to NASA to land people on the moon. There's that whole going back to the moon thing. Also, there's Department of Defense missions. The Department of Defense has a stakeholder expectation in Starship with the United States Transportation Command. That's an important thing to understand. And there's also Starlink and Starshield, which, once again, Starshield is the DoD version of Starlink that SpaceX is working on. There is a lot of stakeholders here that are basically relying on Starship being operational sooner rather than later, NASA included. So I don't blame SpaceX for needing, like, they need to go fast. It's super important. And to seemingly be held up because the permitting paperwork isn't right, even though it was right before, but now it's not for whatever reason, right? That's a little absurd. But also at the same time, you got to follow what the FAA does. Like, you have to follow their rules too. Like, you can't just launch without a license. That's not going to end well for anybody. What happens if you do endanger public safety? Not that I think SpaceX would, but what happens if you do? It's a poop sandwich. The only thing that we can hope, like, everybody's got to take a bite, right? The only thing that we can hope for is that it forces some kind of regulatory framework that allows to be able to track changes on ships faster, so they can fly more. I bet it was NSF because SpaceX killed their van. The other thing to take into account is that, yeah, well, it's like what I said before. What happens when Rocket Lab starts flying? What happens when Blue Origin starts flying and the FAA is still going slow? It's something to think about. So you're in the control room. Do you have a can of roasted peanuts? Bad luck if you don't. I understand the reference, Squarish, but no, I'm in my office. I have Jaffa cakes. Does that help? John, I think that also has a lot to do with it. I think the FAA is learning how to certify a spaceport and a commercial space vehicle, and they're intentionally going slow with SpaceX because SpaceX is the first of its kind. It's the first of its kind to do this. You let it count? All right, good enough. But yeah, I didn't want to talk about this too much. But yeah, I don't think anything is going to come from this Notmar. But here, switch it up a little bit. Switch it up a little bit. More segments. This is on Lab Padres Cam, but more segments for SpaceX's second orbital launch mount is coming in. That and Starship Gazer. We got this corner segment, whatever that is. That is some thick boy steel. Oh man. It's gotta be like 2 inches thick, man. It's like 50 mil steel. It's crazy. You have Jaffa cakes and the box is not completely empty. All that's in there is wrappers. I ate those a long time ago. I just kept the box because for this moment, to be honest with you, or moments like this. Good vote of confidence from customers on Falcon 9's reliability. For next space flight, it'll actually mean the return. Let's see. The Hera project manager, Ian Carnelli, also said that they would be happy to be the return to flight mission for Falcon 9 and don't require SpaceX to perform a launch before it. At an ESA briefing this morning, Hera project officials say they are proceeding with plans on October 7th to launch Falcon 9, including encapsulating the spacecraft in the fairing tomorrow. By Geoff Foost. Okay, cool. So Chrome Kiwi, who follows the stream, does renders of this stuff, and yeah, Chrome Kiwi posted this back 2 weeks ago, but here we go. OLMB is shaping up to be something different from the first. New sections that have shown up at Sanchez. One of them looks to have doors on the outside. 3 flat panels from a curved front face. Here are the 2 different versions. Yeah, it looks more like an ML. That looks more like a mobile launcher platform, dudes. Look at that. And let's look at that. Let's look at this piece from Starship Gazer. There's your corner piece. It has the marks right there. See the mark here. Let me zoom in on the Starship Gazer picture. Damn, dude, look at those freaking welds. All right, see the holes? See the holes down there? That matches that pattern from those pictures. Now keep in mind, that's Chrome Kiwi's render, right? That's a lot of weld. That probably took some time to make that. That's a lot of welding. That's beast mode welding, dude. Man, what a monster. But also, you can get a clue as to kind of how this all goes together, because the stuff that's brown, right? Like reddish brown, I guess. The stuff that's the color of Mars are surfaces that were not painted. The reason why they weren't painted is because they're going to be welded together. So that is most likely going to be welded to these segments here. And it looks like, from what I can see here, they're building it upside down. But yeah, SpaceX seemed to have opted for a square ML. Hey, Zah, what's going on? Normal Camaro welds. Wrecked. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, and there's that piece. Bird. Okay, Whopper. Cool. Scroll down. He's updated the corner pieces. Oh. Whoa, dude. Right square is going to be crazy. Per Elon, OLM2 will have a completely revised hold down system. Oh, nice. Oh, there you go. You got yourself a chicken cutlet sub. All right. Or tendies. Tendy sub is good too. Hey, Thomas, or anybody else, you guys around? What are these? What are those pieces? I don't remember ever seeing those guys come in. What are those ones about here? Let me see a yak. Let's see if we have a yak. Mary has many pictures of them. All right, let's your guess is as good as mine. Let me take a look. Here, let me take a look. I didn't see much with Mary. Let's try Yak. Yak Boyer. Clint Boyer. I'm trying to see if there's any more pictures. The Haas Ridgewind is still out there, guys. It went back to the Booster 11 landing site. My name
is Jeff.
My name is Yak. Canadian moose during mating season. And now the yak. Yak! Yak! Yak. See, I don't see any pictures of those things. What the hell are those? This was spotted at McGregor in front of a raptor, which is supposed to be a hold down for the booter. Them straps are good for 119,000 each. Oh, nice. Alex. Eric, you're saying it's good to see how different OLM1 and OLM2 are. It goes to show how much rethinking of the design was put into this and how overcomplicated OLM1 was. T-Rex, the yellow crane is being packed up. Yeah, hells, that's what people are telling me. Hello. Yak. I'm just looking around for anything. Maybe, maybe Christopher has something. Christopher. Come here, Christopher. Let me see. Yeah, the 8800. Yeah. Huh. That's interesting. Trying to see if Chris retweeted it. Hold on. Oh yeah, yesterday was NASA's birthday, by the way. But just give me 1 second. I need to see something. Nice. It was NASA's birthday yesterday. Anyway. Professional sign painting. Yeah, man. Yeah, that truck's sweet. C20. We gotta have... Man, Chris tweets a lot. It's gotta be something. Because, once again, I have not seen these things. I have not physically seen. I've seen these. I've seen those. I've not seen those. We need to hear you sing Happy Birthday to NASA. Okay, ready? Happy birthday. To you. Hey, hey, hey. All right. Hey. Jig up. 54 seconds into the video. You weren't muted. Yes, I was. Believe me. if I wasn't muted, your reaction to that would have been a little bit different. Oh boy, the 2025 piece of crap, a toaster oven with wheels. Yeah, that's what I want. Granger, yeah, right. Okay.
Have discoloration like that. Huh.
Huh.
Oh, that's weird. New parts are delivered. We keep talking about, can these be for the OLM? I'm not sure. I don't know if I should do the entire video in the stream of consciousness.
Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
Food. I honestly don't think they're going to fit barrel sections out those tiny doors. They should really have vestibules, but I guess it doesn't matter when you have like 18 quadrillion tons of air conditioning. Ship 34's nose cone is looking good.
Cole Phelps, badge 1247.
I still can't get over those rear-angled flaps. Untiled. I almost said untitled nose cones. I guess either way it could work. But I'm not seeing any tiles on these. I wonder how that's going to work out for them.
I'll check in a second.
That one looks
Goalie.
like it's got polish or something running down the side. Why would it have discoloration like that? Huh. Oh, that's weird. New parts are delivered. We keep talking about, can these be for the OLM? I'm not sure. I don't know if I should do the entire video in the stream of consciousness inside DOS's heads format, but there's Pad B's chopstick carriage.
All right. So those pieces right there, huh? Let's look at those. I'm interested. That's a very weird piece. Please tell me DOS knows you do this. I mentioned it to him, yeah. We shouldn't do it for the whole video, but yeah, it's still funny. She was a call girl with a heart of gold. So those freaking things. Do we have any recent flyover footage here, guys? So we can kind of see that? You pointing out the voices ruined the narration for you? Oh, my bad. NSF just did one. Cool. Yeah, Repairer, yes, they did. Last Starbase update has flyover pictures. All right. Once again, guys, all this stuff is coming from my buddies over at NSF. Make sure you go over there and follow those dudes. I do work for them, and it's fantastic. These are fantastic videos. I'm not going to watch the whole video here. Interesting. Yeah, I'm wondering what those are about because like I won't say. I guess I'll just go ahead and say it. That looks like a Saturn V mobile launcher platform, at least the platform part of Saturn V ML. It looks like it. Interestingly enough. Those towery bits look twisted on the trailer. It's just it's just an optical illusion.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Here, I'll show you. Those towery bits look like this. So this is like a 3/4 view, I suppose. Right? They have like a center truss like that, and then I saw another center truss like that, and then there's that kind of hexagon up there at the top, and then it has things going off the sides like that. That's what that piece looks like. But the bottom shape, right, looks like a baseball home plate. It looks like that. And the top shape looks like this. It's a hexagon. See what I'm talking about? Art with EJ. Art time. Interesting. I'm trying to see if there's any home plate shaped things in Chrome Kiwi's kind of render here. I'm wondering if these things will end up at the corners. That does not say time. Quack. Quack. What does that say? Sad quack. It is upside down, I'm pretty sure. I think Chrome Kiwi's right. But yeah, see these things right here. That's weird, man. Thanks for saving you. You almost got hit by a lamp. You're welcome. Maybe those are pie shaped. Maybe that's not home plate shaped. Yeah, I think, yeah, you know what? I'll default to Chrome Kiwi. I think that also could be that shape. It's not home plate shape on the bottom. My artwork wasn't exactly right. Interesting. Anyway, yeah, these renders are Chrome Kiwi. Guy does a pretty good job. Did you ever model the OLM in Maya? No, never did. Never did it. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what those things do, guys, to be honest with you. And, you know, if you look at the flyover pictures, right, like, it's not, I am not sure how this thing even fits in. Could those be temporary parts for construction? Yeah. Yes, they could. I'm just wondering how the heck they're gonna... Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. I'm just wondering how the heck they're gonna hold that thing down. Like... I don't even have a guess. These parts are just so damn weird looking. I don't even know. Anyway. They could be temporary hold-up parts, yeah. Anyway, anything else cool in here? Let's just see the SBU real quick. They started digging out the flame trench. which is pretty rad.
orbital launch mount. Given the progress we're seeing so far, it seems like these lines would go from the tank farm at the north, then from the back of the tower and side of the tower and south of the OLM.
Yeah.
Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the other big change here in Starbase since our last flyover, and that is, of course, the tower is complete. Yay! I know, we've talked about it a whole bunch on previous Starbase updates, but there's nothing quite like seeing it from the air. Plus, we were treated to a full stack, so with that combination, both Mary and I were able to make some pretty cool images. I've been saying it for a while now, and I'm going to keep saying it until it happens. I cannot wait until we have 2 full stacks on 2 pads here in Starbase. In fact, SpaceX mentioned during their Crew 9 launch coverage that they expect to have Pad B operational in early 2025. So hopefully we'll get to see 2 full stacks on 2 pads sooner rather than later. Now, even though the tower is complete, there's still a lot of work going on, including on reinforcements to the base of the tower. We're not sure why SpaceX needed to add these, but I'm sure they had a good reason for it. And well, it's always a good idea to have extra structural margin.
Stick welding, baby. See that? See that guy? That guy makes a lot of money. You want to get into it? You want to get into a trade that makes good money? Industrial welding. Those guys make bank.
In something as...
Yeah, big old stick welder there. You need a big stick welder to weld a gusset like that to a tower like that, dude. Look at that freaking thing. That is a heavy piece of metal right there, man. Bob used to be a master stick welder.
Big and important as a launch tower.
Yeah, that guy's laying in beads, dude. That's what he's doing. So, see how this is like one plate, there's another. See the gap in there? He's laying beads in there. I mean, Bob, you know this, just in case anybody wants. If anybody cares, there's 2 plates that are butted up against each other. Those plates have when they come together, they're like a little bit is cut on either side, so it forms a channel. And you just start laying welds in that channel with the stick welder. That's what we were looking at when we were looking at that launch infrastructure, the launch pad infrastructure. I was like, oh man, look at all the welds. They look like a bunch of squiggly lines on top of each other. That's the end result of what he's doing right there. Thanks, I just added welded. What are the disadvantages and advantages of different types of welding? I've only messed with MIG. You'd stick weld something that with the stick welder you get its penetration, dude. You gotta the stick welder actually, I mean, it's not really penetration. I mean, depends. So it depends on the material that you're welding. I mean, keep in mind I'm not an expert on this. With MIG welding, MIG is good for like steel, but you need a heavier welder. Once you get to like thicker stuff, you need a bigger welder. TIG welding is good for aluminum and stainless. You can MIG weld aluminum, right? TIG welding is the same idea, but TIG welding is a much more lower heat process. So for metals that warp easily, like stainless or aluminum, you'd want to use TIG. The stick welding is the industrial welder. It's basically, you basically have a freaking an arc welder with a rod, and you just you basically have 2 like battery clamps, and just clamp one to the ground and take the other one, put the stick in, and just weld that whole thing in there. Yeah, Bossman, you could control better with TIG. TIG is an easier way to control the heat. So with TIG, this is a stylus pen, but with TIG, you have something that looks like this, and it has a cup at the end, right, and a tungsten rod. The tip is a tungsten rod. And then you have wire, right? You feed wire with one hand, and you make an arc to the tungsten rod with the other. The tungsten, being very, very strong, will be able to take the arc. It won't melt, right? So you take, it's like brazing almost. It's not, but it is. You take the feed and you make the arc, right? And then you feed the wire through the arc to make a pool, and it's a lot less heat intense because the arc is going through the I was about to say it goes through the gun. It goes through the gun with every weld, you idiot. But yeah, it's a lot less heat intense doing that. I forget the intricacies. We're gonna have to. We'll do more welding, guys, when we fix the coronet. Coronet has a lot of holes in it. We gotta fix that. But no direct contact. The rod, yeah, you have to arc. You have to make an arc through the rod. If you touch the tungsten rod to it, you're gonna have a bad day. Oh, jeez, weather guy. That's awful. Stick welding with car batteries is an interesting experience. Yeah, you do. That's a stick welder there. So stick welder doesn't have any inert gas. The stick welding is the oldest form of welding. It's basically where you take a metal rod, right? You have it on one, like, dude, like basically jumper cables, right? And actually, he could be MIGging that, but that looks like a stick weld to me. You have a rod, and the stick welder it has a ton of current. Like you can run an insane amount of current through this thing, and you just move the rod to where you need to weld, and that's it. You just shove it right in, it'll just zap it right out. That's like in old school industrial welding. I mean, it's not old school, you still do it, but brazing is the oldest form of welding. I mean, TIG welding is like really, really super advanced brazing. It's actually more like solder, which is kind of brazing as well, but you get the idea. So what you're saying is that I need to send Geek back to Boston soon. Ernark's going to be here this weekend, Ewok. Just saying. Just saying. The welding rod is covered in flux, which turns into a gas while arcing to keep the weld pure. Yeah, that's... Yeah, Yeah, a short with an electrode that melts. Yep. That's what that guy's doing. He's got a stick welder going there.
Tower. All right, now let's shift.
I'm pretty sure that's a stick welder. But yeah, you want to weld that stuff. Stick welders will be able to weld big boy welds like that. Geek's birthday party is next weekend, though. Pain. Sorry. I want to get the welder going. We got to get the welder going again. Anyway. All right, goalie. What are we looking at here? Let's see EJ make a fool of himself with math homework. Identify the domain and the range and then represent the relation as a table. What the hell? The hell is this? Yeah, happy birthday, Geek. What do we have here? Oh boy, matrices. Goalie, you still here? Do you still need help with this? Yeah. No, these aren't matrices, but they have the curly brackets. Go ask your mother. The domain and the range. When would this even be used? There's a reason why you learn it. Can I get the translation to those hieroglyphics? Yeah, dude. Domain is the min-max of X. Range is the min-max of Y. Oh. Yeah, it's extremely straightforward stuff. So, what weather guy said? Yeah, that's easy. This is algebra 1, isn't it? There you go. What weather guy said, goalie? Domain. Let me see that one more time. Domain is the min-max of X. Range is the min-max of Y. Oh, yeah, that's easy. Because a person in chat is dumb and his daughter's somewhat smarter. Well, there you go. Yeah, we got some sinusoidal stuff going on down here. Think range for both, but domain is because they needed a different word. Makes sense. I thought domain is what you had after Distarta. That is not sine. It's sinusoidal repleneration. See, crack. I was kidding, dude. It was a joke. Jesus Christ. Jesus. This class was 40 years ago. Yep. I don't know if you have this already, but here's Booster 14 rollout. Did it do? This is coming from Lab Padre. Nice. Yo. She's a big un. Yeah, you think those SPMTs are strong? Also, we got a nice quad cab flatbed long box Ford Super Duty over there. F450. Very nice. Very nice. Dude, look at the beef on these damn transport stools nowadays. Crazy. Booster 12 of rollout. It's crazy. Want to try to solve LIM as X approaches 0. See, Craig, I'll be 100% real. I suck at math. Like, I suck at math. Streamer math already makes you stupid. Like, but yeah, I'm not even going to try. Not even going to try to do that on stream. I am not the best at math. That's not to say that I couldn't get better at it. That's because that's the secret about math. You know, people are like, oh, I'm just naturally good at math. No, you just do it more. You just do it more. That's how you get good at math. I know what 1 + 1 is. Like, you put a differential equation in front of me, I'll be like, I got a potato. I got a potato. Is that good? They took the pins out of booster 12, so they can't lift that booster up unless they reinstall those pins. They would only remove those pins if they knew the flight was soon. Yeah, Squarish, I don't know, man. Who knows? I don't need to know math. I got a wife. Differential equation, like adjusting backlash? That I know how to do. Not well, Bill, but I know how to do that. And Pie Guy's like, I need to know math. All right, guys. Yeah, actually a pretty dang quick space news today. Unless anybody has anything else they want to talk about, I think we got through it. Oh yeah, Voyager 2. This one, sad. This is sad, but it's Voyager 2 update. After taking all steps to avoid it, Voyager engineers have turned off the plasma science instrument aboard the probe due to its gradually shrinking electrical supply. Yep. Voyager 2 is still operating the magnetometer, cosmic ray subsystem, low energy charged particles instrument, and the plasma wave subsystem. The probe has enough power to continue exploring with at least one operational science instrument into the 2030s. Cool. The Eric Berger article. Nobody linked an article from him in a long time. I'm just cleaning up tabs. Give me 1 second. I was late to the party, so you might have covered this. The aspirational timeline from Elon on Starship. I didn't link that thing especially, but yeah, anyway. It sucks that Voyager's going out, but it's been up there for a long time. Voyager 2 launched, what is it, 78? 77, 78? I don't remember off the top of my head. It's been up there for a while. It's nuclear powered from an RTG. It has an RTG attached to it. 77. Yeah, it's been up there for a little bit. It's been up there for almost a half century. It's been up there for almost a half century? No. Voyager launched 30 years ago. Right? Right? Like, yeah, it's still... Okay. Future math, we discussed this. Yeah, you're not wrong. Future. Oh, jeez. Oh, God. All right. What's Elon saying? Best case 2028 for what? Let me see. John Carmack. Given recent Mars discussions, best guess for the first living human settlement on Mars. Engage full critical thinking skills. I'd say 2040. Yep. Yeah, okay, cool. Launched with a Centaur stage that still flies. All right. Okay, Elon says best case 2028, but probably 2030. If SpaceX is not smothered by regulations, then the Starship launch rate will far exceed the Falcon launch rate. As Starship is fully reusable, while Falcon's only mostly reusable. Starship should be doing about more than 1,000 Earth orbit flights per year by 2028. That is still low compared to what's needed to build a self-sustaining city on Mars and secure the future of conscious. Oh, yeah, Fabricator. You were telling me about this a little bit earlier, right? You were telling me about this. I mean, that's, despite what the guy posts on the internet nowadays, that's classic Elon. Guys, because think about it like this. He's going to say, I want 1,000 starships. And people are going to say, all right, we'll burn the candle at both ends, see what we can see, right? Even if they hit 10% of that, or even 5% of that, 5% of that, what would that be? 50 starships? 50 flights a year? 10% of that would be just basically what Falcon's doing right now. That's pretty frigging good. That's still better than pretty much everyone else ever. Can you imagine starships even launching on Falcon's flight rate, about 100 launches a year? That's a lot of tonnage to orbit. And if Starship ends up being used like as the space shuttle was intended to be used. Grimlock, you're going to bet 500 flights a year by 2030. He should learn under promise, over deliver. He doesn't do that, dead serious. In Elon's own words, this is from Tim's video. SpaceX takes the impossible and turns it late. You have to set your sights high if you're going to try to attempt something that's seemingly impossible. But I do understand, yeah. The Eric Berger article. Here's how... Oh. The politically incorrect guide to saving NASA's floundering Artemis program. To get somewhere, Artemis must avoid going nowhere. I'll bet you he says that SpaceX is the solution. Who wants to bet that one? Let's see. Regardless of the outcome of this year's election, great primer. The United States will have a new president in a few months. Although there are a myriad of issues greater of greater importance than spaceflight to most Americans, a new leader of the country will inevitably take a fresh look at this nation's space policy. Among the highest priorities for the next administration should be shoring up the NASA's Artemis program to return humans to the moon. The ambitious and important program is now half a decade old. And while the overall aims remain well supported in Congress and the space community, there's some worrying cracks in the foundation. The issues include Orion. No concrete launch date. Yep. The space agency's planned after 3 are even more complicated. Yep. There's increasing evidence that China is pouring resources into a credible lunar program. Yeah, I agree with that. Control F it? No. Just F it. Wait, what? A flat or even reduced NASA budget compounds all of these things, and the space agency is unlikely to receive significant increases in the near term. The fundamental problem with Artemis, therefore, is that... Hey, Jeffy! 32 months, thank you. Fundamental problem with Artemis, therefore, is that NASA is trying to do too much with its deep space program with too few resources. We've already seen evidence of NASA cannibalizing its science programs, including significant cuts to Chandra and the cancellation of the Viper mission to support Artemis's ballooning cost. I would like a source for that. I would like a source for that. There's the Viper mission did say they were worried about funding overlap, but they did not say that Artemis was the reason. I'm not 100% sure that's right. And if it is or isn't right, I'd like a source. Okay, that's a heck of a thing to make, but correlation doesn't equal causation, right? If the agency continues down this path like a frog in boiling water, the Artemis program is likely to end in failure. Fortunately, I have a solution. It may not be politically popular, and there are losers. Among the biggest ones are Boeing, SpaceX, and 2 NASA field centers, Marshall and Johnson. However, if Artemis is to succeed, difficult choices must be made. For policymakers, there are 2 strategic aims at risk here. The first is losing the geopolitically important race against China, Russia, and their partners back to the moon in the 21st century. And then the second one is sacrificing a sustainable lunar program for one that is unaffordable in the long term. With that context, here are the principal policy choices I believe should be made to shore up the Artemis program in both the near and the long term. Cancel the Gateway. Cancel Block 1B. Centaur 5 is the new upper stage. Of course they are dead serious. Why? Why would... I believe this article was the primer for the Centaur 5 question somebody asked a couple days ago. That's right, Fabricator. Somebody did ask me about that. What? Yeah. I want to... Canceling the Gateway, I kind of understand that one. Especially since the snafu that was that GAO report. Canceling Block 1B basically makes SLS useless, and then replacing it with a stage that pretty much has the exact capability makes it even more useless. So, Eric's solution to this is to make SLS less capable? Question? All right. The Gateway part I can kind of get behind. The PP in the Halo is not doing very well. Block 1B. NASA and Boeing have been working on the Block 1B upgrade to the SLS rocket for a decade now. This essentially entails the development of a more powerful second stage known as the EUS. To be placed atop of the core stage, Boeing is developing the new upper stage. Additionally, NASA is working with Bechtel to build a larger launch tower for this new vehicle. Yep. Both the upper stage and launch tower are behind schedule because these projects were bid as cost plus rather than fixed price. I thought Artemis was sucking up all the funding. Isn't that the point that he made at the beginning of this article? These projects were bid as cost plus rather than fixed price, significantly over budget. NASA now anticipates the Block 1B development to cost $5.7 billion by the time of its completion. NASA doesn't, the GAO does. But, all right, technicality, I suppose. Originally, the rocket due to be ready in 2021. As for the launch tower, its cost has grown by nearly a factor of 10 to an estimated $2.7 billion. That was the projected cost by the end of the program. Right now, it's at $2.1 billion for people that want to know. It was due to be completed by now. I agree with that. Yeah, there's no excuse for the ML. The main benefit of a new upper stage is that it increases the performance of the SLS rocket from 27 metric tons to 38 metric tons translunar injection to the moon. This allows the rocket to not just the Orion spacecraft, but to co-manifest a payload, to not just launch the Orion spacecraft, but to co-manifest a payload to lunar orbit. However, NASA's primary use of this co-manifesting function is to deliver elements of the lunar gateway where Orion's crew can install them. That's right, essentially Block 1B of this rocket exists solely to build out Gateway. There's no need for this new SLS stage for human landing missions, nor is it needed to deliver material to the moon. NASA's two largest lunar landers under contract. By canceling Block 1B, NASA would not only save billions of dollars in the yet-to-be expended development costs, but also significantly reduce the per-launch cost of the SLS rocket. That's because the cost of a single exploration upper stage is likely to be around $1 billion, which is ludicrous for just a rocket stage. I'd like to remind everybody here that these price tags, these heavy price tags for these programs are total cost involved. So $1 billion for one EUS launch takes into account all the development that you've made to make it. It's building the factory for it, all the tooling for it, all the test articles, everything. i.e., the more you launch it per total cost involved, your unit price goes down. So the first launch will be $1 billion. The second one wouldn't. Second one will be half of that. Probably, I mean, you actually not half. You spread the costs out. So if one costs $1 billion and then you launch 50 of these things, right? You're gonna get that cost exponentially divided, right? See, okay, here's my other thing, dudes. Like, here's the other thing. Look, I get what he's saying. I get what you're saying. I'm trying to be nice. I get what you're saying. But canceling this saved NASA billions of dollars. Okay, see that right there? I get it. I get it. But the road to hell is paved in good intentions. Every single freaking time, without fail, someone has decided that they could do it a better way, or they want to save NASA some money. Every time someone has uttered those exact freaking words, verbatim, NASA has gotten the shaft and ended up with less capability. In fact, the reason why SLS is such a fragmented article is because in 2010, someone said that right there, verbatim. You're falling for the same trap over and over again. We sit here and take it every single time without question. Oh, the Saturn V's too expensive. It's not sustainable in the long run. It's too expensive. We need a reusable space option. We need the space shuttle. The space shuttle could do everything that the Saturn V can do, and it'll be cheaper because it's reusable. It'll save us tons of money. How did that end up? Oh, yeah, that ended real good, didn't it? Oh, we can't use the space shuttle anymore. You know, we can't use the space shuttle. We got to replace it with commercial crew. We got to replace it with commercial crew. We got to replace it with commercial crew. Commercial can do it for cheaper. Commercial can do it for cheaper. I'm pretty sure if we wanted to add a new module to the ISS, we don't have a vehicle to do that. Pretty sure if we want to service Hubble, I'm pretty sure Dragon and Starliner can't do that. We've ended up with less capability. Oh, but we saved money. NASA gets the shaft every single time someone utters this phrase. Without question, every single time. NASA saving money is basically a nice way of saying defund NASA. because that's what happens. Every single time. You can err on the side of optimism. That's totally okay. And there's nothing wrong with being optimistic here, but you know, hoping that wouldn't, maybe a different result will happen this time, but it probably won't. Unfun fact, the F1 engines were designed to be flown at least 7 times. Cool. I don't, that won't fix anything. That'll make it worse. That'll take our fragmented architecture and make it even more fragmented. The definition of insanity. Dude, like, I'm sorry. Like, I get it. SLS carries a heavy price tag. Abso-freaking-lutely. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's not. But cutting parts of the SLS program under the guise of saving us billions of dollars is the reason why SLS exists. That is the reason why. Because we looked at Constellation and said, no, we have a cheaper way of doing it. We could save billions of dollars if we make SLS over Ares 1 and Ares 5. I don't understand. I don't understand how you're coming to this conclusion. Like, and once again, I'm trying to be nice. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I just don't understand. I don't get why you would say this is a good idea. Am I wrong? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm... It's like, what, dude, that's not, this isn't going to help. That's not going to help. All this is going to do is just gut NASA. And then, remember we read that National Academy of Sciences paper that said if NASA becomes too much of a management organization because they don't have their own in-house projects, that could spell the end of it? Because no one wants to be an engineer that works at NASA that's managing a commercial program. Engineers like hands-on work. They like solving problems. NASA is experiencing a gigantic brain drain because of this exact thing, because everybody wants to work for commercial. I wouldn't call it that. No money saving then. If the desire is to limit SLS, then call it reallocation. We're moving that money from this thing to the other thing. I'm not at all lobbying here. Bob, every time someone has said we save billions of dollars, NASA gets shafted. The implication here, and once again, the road to hell is paved in good intentions. The implication with that is that NASA will have this money freed up to spend on other things. That's not how Congress allocates money to space programs. That's not how this works. It's never worked that way. Why do people think it works this way? That's not how this works at all. Does anybody bother reading the actual laws of how funding is bestowed on NASA from the legislative branch of the United States? Is that a concern for anybody? I don't understand. It's a great idea if your goal is to funnel cash towards programs that go nowhere. Well, yeah, exactly, Will. Do you know why? Do you know why Congress wants to funnel cash into a space program that is not actually sustainable but politically sustainable? Because someone made that idiotic frigging argument 15 years ago. It's not rocket science, man. If NASA could transfer the funding from SLS Block 1B into a different NASA program, I would be in favor of this. You'd be damn right to get that in writing if that was the case. If that was the case, sure, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But that's not how this worked. It's never worked that way, ever. Like, why do you keep saying this? All this is going to do is get NASA less money. And if NASA has less money, Congress is not going to be able to see the need because they get defunded. They're going to have less capability. Have less capability. You're not going to be like, dude, I can't even talk straight. This is pissing me off so much. Right? Like, if NASA turns into a spaceflight management organization, no one's going to want to work there. And if no one wants to work there, they're going to have a brain drain. And if you have a brain drain, you don't have the best and brightest, you're going to struggle to get funding until NASA eventually shrivels up into nothing. This is not my opinion on this. The National Academy of Sciences wrote a paper about this. Like, I don't... Are you allowed to drink on stream? I'm about to go crack a cold one, Will. This is ridiculous. So let's see. Let's see. What's the conclusion? Let's see if what we said was right. I take the specs from the engineers to the customers so the engineers don't have to. I have people skills. Oh my God, the Orioles are out of the playoffs. What? What? They did a Bruins? Nice. Nice. You seem like you have some feelings on this. Okay. All right. Here's the thing, guys. Centaur 5 is balloon tanks. Balloon tanks with stainless steel. We know from Atlas V that balloon tanks cannot take high G load scenarios, so they can't take being launched on a heavier launch vehicle, which is why we never put a Centaur on top of a super heavy launch vehicle. It cannot take the load unless you have what's called a forward load reactor. So before we read Eric's conclusion on Centaur 5, I'm just going to tell you this. You would have to completely redesign a ton of things from the core stage up on SLS to be able to use a Centaur 5 in the first place. And if you're going to do that, I'm all for doing that, but not with a Centaur 5. Screw that. Put Blue Origin, put a new blend second stage up there. Then we're talking. Then you get your high energy stage. You get your high energy stage that'll boost your translunar injection to over 45 metric tons, and then give NASA an in-house lunar program. An in-house lunar lander program, and boom, your architecture is complete. You have end-to-end, surface of the moon and back, no problem. Would that be expensive? Yes, absolutely. But NASA, in order for NASA to avoid that brain drain thing that I was telling you about, you have to expand the program, and you need accountability with the program so people don't waste money with deadlines. Deadlines are set by the executive. The president and the vice president, particularly the vice president in the National Space Flight Council. Anyway, Centaur 5 comes alive. For the first 3 launches of the SLS rocket, known as Block 1, NASA has purchased an interim cryogenic propulsion stage from United Launch Alliance. This is a lightly modified version of the upper stage formerly used by United Launch Alliance's Delta IV rocket. Although the company has discontinued production of this stage, it has replaced it with a more powerful Centaur 5 upper stage featuring similar technology. What are you talking? Well, this is not a drop-in replacement for the ICBS. Modifications could be made to the core stage of the SLS rocket and its launch tower to accommodate Centaur 5. Why not just cancel the SLS rocket right now? For $4.1 billion per launch, that's projected. That is admittedly a tempting option from a budget standpoint. But for the time being, the most direct route to get NASA astronauts to the moon is inside Orion on top of an SLS rocket. The only essential function these vehicles fill is getting crew into a rectilinear halo orbit around the moon and back. The good news is that Centaur 5s should be relatively cheap, certainly a tiny fraction of what NASA will pay for the EUS. This is because United Launch Alliance already plans to build 24 of them a year for its Vulcan rocket. Adding an additional stage on top of this would be little trouble for the company that has invested heavily into more rapidly producing boosters and upper stages. Bro. The cost of canceling the EUS would result in a financial loss for Boeing. However, the company has been performing poorly on the contract, according to NASA's Inspector General. Yeah, that's what happens. That's what happens when you don't fund it. That's what happens when you don't fund it. They're performing poorly and suffer from great inexperience because they're not hiring their best and brightest because the program got dick for funding. That's what that OIG report says, dudes. If you want me to click on it, I can show you the exact page. Additionally, Boeing would still be responsible for the core stage, a lucrative contract. The NASA managers at Marshall Space Flight Center working on the upper stage program could be refocused towards propellant production on the moon, propellant storage in space, and supporting the crucial work on lunar landers. Zeb, you're so dang smart. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Sorry, I also get a little feisty. You guys wanted spice. I saw a lot of people say, you guys wanted spice, you got spice. Why are you not working for a space organization somewhere? I don't know, man. Because on paper, I look like an idiot. But then again, I kind of am an idiot, so it kind of works out. You love watching you and your launch streams. Very knowledgeable. Thanks, Zeb. I appreciate that. Yeah, Rockets and Redstone. I don't think... Okay, I'm just going to go out there and say it. There are people that work in the industry that watch this stream, right, fellas? Everybody, if you're out there, once again, you don't need to chime in. Just maybe give me a nod. The cost of retrofitting SLS to be able to have a Centaur upper stage on top of it would probably be about as expensive as developing the EUS in the first place. Yeah, there is no way that is possible. Centaur would not be able to handle the G load from the core stage and the SRBs. I can say that with 100% confidence. Know what I'm saying? You're a big fan of the launch streams? Ah, hell yeah, man. Know what I'm saying? Like, what contract is the Centaur 5 going to get? You're going to do a fixed price contract to retrofit developing an upper stage that's already been invented on a rocket? Last time we did that with the ICPS, it ended up being very expensive. Like, how can you be this tone deaf? I don't understand. Like, cost plus contracts aren't a bad thing. They really aren't. They're great for development if you're trying something different, right? If you're trying something new and untested. Cost plus contracts work if there's accountability. You need a deadline by this point. You don't complete it by this point, you don't get paid. That's how cost plus incentive works. That's the part that he always doesn't mention. I don't get it. There's an incentive. You get paid. You don't get paid if you don't deliver. You know how much money Boeing's lost on the core stage because they couldn't deliver it on time? They missed out on so much incentive. It's probably to the tune of like $500 million or something over the years because they can't perform. They're not getting it done on time. Love that you speak the truth. Love the passion. You're very passionate. Oh, thanks, Seb. I appreciate it. Spare me though. This, like, I don't understand. Like, dude, do you not know that Centaur is made with balloon tanks? It can't handle high G loads. ULA had a whole problem with this with Vulcan development, finding a failure mode with Centaur because they blew one up on a test stand by accident. You can't take the high G load from the SLS. You know, it's very interesting because Eric Berger always says, like, he always says the reason why Europa Clipper was put on Falcon Heavy over SLS is because Europa Clipper can't take the G loads and the vibrations on SLS. So you definitely know that this is a thing. You know that this exists, but a Centaur is fine. Do you know why the EUS is being designed? Because you can't put anything up. God. I don't get it. It just... When are you running for office? Bro, I don't want any part of that clown fiesta, William. You gotta be friggin' kidding me. Someone wants to appoint me to an NASA administrator, I'd take that job in a heartbeat, but I don't think anybody would do that. I wouldn't make any friends. Out of curiosity, how bad of an idea would it be if Gateway gets canceled to pivot to using SLS Block 1B to launch a newly designed 40-ton lunar cargo lander without Orion and keep using Block 1 for crew? Bill, look, everybody's so obsessed about saving money. Everybody's so obsessed about saving money. Everybody's so obsessed about saving money. You don't save money during development. Saving money during development makes it more expensive. You can't. It's the same thing that when I tell people, like in Satisfactory, you can't optimize a factory that doesn't exist. You can't save money on a rocket that hasn't been made yet. How is that possible? Ah. Look, you want to know what my solution is? Push the EUS. Get it done. Get the EUS done. It's going to take some time. Get it done. Okay? Use it to expand Gateway. Frigate. Use it to expand Gateway. Sure. But NASA needs their own in-house lander. They need their own in-house lander. An in-house hypergolic lander. Just a backup. A backup. You need not an exit strategy, but NASA needs a backup. They need their own dissimilar architecture. Guys, the architecture that Starship and Blue Origin with SLD are using for their landers is super complicated. I'm not saying they can't get it done. Don't get confused. Starship needs 16 refueling flights. SLD with Blue Origin's lander with New Glenn launches needs like 12 or something. And it's gonna take a long time to get them out there. Remember the whole gist of Eric's article here is beating China to the moon. That was one of his impetuses for writing this article at the beginning. You want to beat China to the moon, you can't do that defunding NASA. What are you talking about? You want to push this? I would expand the EUS program. How about that? I would expand it. And NASA needs their own in-house hypergolic lander. Base it off of the European service module for all I care. I don't care. That's fine. Take the European service module, right? And put a Cygnus service module on top of it for your Ascent module. Frick it. Let's go. Something like that. Or bring Altair back, but that's never happening. You need a hypergolic. You need a hypergolic lander. Why do you need a hypergolic lander? Hypergolics aren't sustainable on the moon. It's a one-use lander. It's not reusable, right? But remember, the whole impetus for this article is that we're in a race with China. You want to race with China? Good. You need to do it the fastest. What was the fastest way? Tried and tested. Hypergolic lander. It's something we know how to do because we did it 50 years ago. We know how to do that. We can make that. That's not a problem. It's ridiculous to me. The whole gist of this article is to beat China to the moon. Or at least that's one of the goals. This guy's solution to beating China to the moon is giving NASA less money. That's the solution. That's your solution here? For a sustainable program, cryos are better. Well, there's no doubt, Ben, and I have no doubt in my mind that Blue Origin and SpaceX are going to deliver. I think that SpaceX will deliver. I think that, if Elon gets to launch that damn Starship, I believe him when he says 1,000 Starships eventually a year. Yeah, I believe him. Bro, look at the hardware. You've seen Starbase. I just showed you guys it. SpaceX can just crap up launch pads out of nowhere. I think that tower went up in like less than a couple months. I mean, the tower segments were fabricated for a long time, but they stacked that thing like that. SpaceX's rocket's coming out of the damn demon hole. You'd be stupid to think they're not going to figure it out. But are we in a race or not? Imagine Gateway EUS. Sure. Once you push this EUS through, you can use it to expand Gateway. Or you can, dude, frick it. Use it as your damn lunar lander. It has RL-10s on it. You could use it as your lunar lander. Sure, why not? Frick it. Have Starship refuel it for all I care. I don't care. Like, just... There's so many ways to solve this problem, and this is arguably the single worst way to do it. Like, not even worst. This is not... Why would you say this? Like, how can you be so sure? You know, Eric wants, and he says the NASA engineers at Marshall Space Flight Center working on the upper stage program could refocus towards propellant production on the moon, propellant storage in space, and supporting crucial work on lunar landers. Why don't you just have them do that and make the EUS at the same time, and have the EUS capable of doing all that? Why would you not do that? Once again, this implies that canceling the EUS that money for the EUS program at Marshall would just go right back to Marshall. That's not how this works at all. It doesn't work that way. I don't think there's any pivot that NASA could make that would change timelines landing on the moon. We're too far in, Fabricator. But I would want NASA to have their own solution. NASA needs to have parity with commercial customers. I.e., if SpaceX can land something on the moon, NASA needs to. That's the most sustainable way forward. That is not the most cost-effective way forward. I've been very clear about this. What I'm proposing, expanding the EUS program, wet workshops, better gateway modules, right? Bigger gateway modules, potential refueling and depot, propellant transfer for EUSs, so maybe you could land them on the moon and make a wet workshop down there. That's going to cost a lot more money. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it doesn't. Of course it's going to cost more money. We don't just poop this stuff out for, like, with Monopoly money. I mean, nowadays we do. Sorry, too real. My bad. It's going to cost the most amount of money, but the only way we're not going to recoup that cost is if some bonehead comes along and says that the best thing for NASA is giving them less money. Did we land on the moon? Of course we did. Of course we landed on the friggin' moon. Don't disparage a feather in this country's cap. It's one of our crowning achievements. Of course we landed on the frickin' moon. It's disgusting to think otherwise. Is it possible to go through the Van Allen belts without harm? Zeb, they didn't go through the Van Allen belts. They went around them. It's a belt, not a sphere. Hello? Magnetic field is only on the sides. You can go around it. That's what they did. That's what they're still going to do. Actually, yeah, people wouldn't like me. I would expand the SLS program. I would want four launches a year. 4 launches a year, at the very least. You need your own lander, and you need to get it done now. Buzz is coming for you, Zeb. Yeah, right. 4 launches minimum. 4 launches is a perfectly sustainable lunar program. And the argument everybody says is, oh, this is just a jobs program. These people are just funneling money. Oh, that's fine. Let them funnel money. As long as we get something out of it, I don't care. You want to get your billions of dollars for your congressional district? That's fine. Please give me something in return. Something. Anyway, let's see the conclusion here. This doesn't solve every problem, but it solves no problems, Eric. Let's be real. It solves nothing. The solutions don't solve NASA's immediate problems regarding Artemis, namely the concerns about Orion's heat shield and the readiness of the Starship lunar lander and spacesuits for Artemis 3. However, canceling Gateway would free up resources to support these programs and focus on their success. The Gateway part I can kind of get behind. I'm not going to lie to you. I can kind of get behind that. It's kind of useless. But anyway. Shopping for commercial customers for SLS2. Make putting big things in space more normal so Starship doesn't have to do all the heavy lifting. Yeah, Uncle X, that's a great idea. It's a great idea. SLS can do stuff that Starship cannot if we build out all of its capable versions, particularly the SLS Block 1B cargo that has an 11-meter fairing. Starship can't do that. Starship could fit inside of its damn fairing. Well, not Starship's payload bay could fit inside of its fairing, but whatever. You have an expendable launch vehicle. We got the best of both worlds here. We have a fully reusable launch vehicle, but that fully reusable launch vehicle is still constricted by payload volume. Starship, so Gwen and Elon say that Starship can launch 150 metric tons into space in its first initial variant, its first operational variant. It can move 150 metric tons. Dude, you could fill the payload bay with 150 metric tons of lead. And it you could fill it up completely. We've done the math on this. You could fill up the entire payload bay with lead and it wouldn't be the entire volume of the payload bay could be filled up with lead and it wouldn't be 150 tons. Actually, I think it might have been close, but that doesn't matter. No one's going to launch a 150-ton block of lead into space. And I really hope I don't eat my words on that one. But once again, I said no one's ever going to launch their car into space either in 2017. Oops. The whole thing is that SLS has a unique capability in the cargo variants that could be useful. What about building a refueling station? SLS could launch a refueling station in one shot, and Starship could use it. What's the length of Starship's payload bay? I forget. Out of curiosity, would you have also pushed to continue the SLS program back in 2017, 2018, or would have you preferred, back to the benefit of hindsight, to cancel it and switch to Earth orbit rendezvous with Falcon Heavies? I do agree with you in a modern context that we should keep SLS in Gateway. I've always said we need it, Bill. I mean, it's not the most ideal solution, but the SLS is actually being made. Every other one of these solutions, and this has been the case basically the entire time. I've had this opinion for almost a decade. Look, SLS ain't the best. It ain't the best solution, but it's good enough. It's good enough. Give it something to do. That's always been my argument. That core stage with the 5-segment boosters is not the worst architecture you could have for lunar exploration. I prefer Constellation, to be honest with you. But once again, the whole reason we're in this fiasco is because somebody said Constellation is too expensive. And, we have a way to save money. And that got us SLS. Okay. That's why, dude, I'm skeptical anytime anybody ever says this. I would have said keep SLS. My thing has always been push for more SLS launches. We need 4 launches a year from that thing. 4 launches a year is good enough. That is not unobtainable. It's not. It would cost us some cash to fix the fiasco that is the SLS contracting situation, sure, of course. But not following through with a national space program is basically admitting that our national space program is useless. At least on the human exploration front. You want to pawn that off to commercial? How did that work last time? Last time we decided to do that, we didn't fly into space from American soil for a decade. Now, arguably, the stakes are obviously different now. We can launch people on Dragon. That's fine. Sure, great, good. Dragon can't go beyond low Earth orbit. Neither can Starliner, for what it's worth. Dream Chaser, hell no. Absolutely not. Orion and potentially Starship down the future are the only ones that have beyond low Earth orbit architecture in mind. Orion already flies, albeit with some problems from the heat shield. That's the other thing that I would change. You know what I would do? If I was in charge? I would push for all this, do all that expansion with the EUS like I was saying, and for the next 5 years, I'd put Orion in a low Earth orbit testing regime. I'm serious. Send it to the ISS. Send it to the ISS. Pay SpaceX to put another adapter up there. And then launch Orion on a Falcon or a New Glenn or a Vulcan. I don't care. Whatever's cheaper. Use Orion's surface propulsion system to circularize in low Earth orbit and then test the snot out of that heat shield. Orion should be held to the same exact standards that our commercial crew vehicles are. And our commercial crew vehicles were required demo flights. They needed demo flights, at least 2. Orion has not had 2 demo flights before it's putting people on board. No. 2 uncrewed demo flights, one a repeat of the EFT-1 mission or something. Test that heat shield. Then an uncrewed thing to demonstrate RPOD with the ISS. Well, we still have it. The heck with doing that on the freaking mission. Why would you test that on a mission with people? Whatever. That's stupid. I'm talking about the Artemis 2 program, but whatever. Put it on Falcon, put it on Vulcan, put it on New Glenn, put it on something. Low Earth orbit testing applications. Basically use Falcon 9, use Vulcan, use New Glenn in the application of Ares 1. Then from there, you don't have to worry about SLS with people on board. You can use that. You could push through the EUS and the cargo variants of SLS, and it would be amazing. Yeah, that does. I mean, you could also, for what it's worth, put Orion with the EUS on it if you wanted to do a one-time Apollo-style mission, if you needed that capability, because that capability is already being developed right now. Do that 4 times a year. You want to be serious about going to Mars? Guess what? It's going to be 2028, and we're not going to have a person on the moon if we listen to these ideas. Heck, if we keep going with what we're going, that's not going to work. So no, I would have never said to get rid of SLS because it's something that exists. Because the last time we decided to get rid of a vehicle that was partially through development, we ended up with SLS. What would you do with a Block 1B if there was no gateway? Lander, man. Lander. NASA, a hypergolic lander. Hypergolic, I know people are like, you do this. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like I said, with my architecture, NASA probably wouldn't land until 2028, 2029 on the lunar surface. But we'd do it and be able to do it immediately again right after that. And then when the commercial partners come online, HLS, Starship HLS does its thing, SLD with Blue Origin, guess what? Now you have 3 landers. Infinite flexibility for lunar architecture. And then maybe you just keep paying SpaceX or Blue Origin to keep landing stuff on the moon after you prove that you can do it. After they prove that they can do it. That takes the pressure off of them. Because you have your hypergolic lander in this design, right? It takes the pressure off of them. And then you take your hypergolic lander, I don't know what you do with that thing. You could use it to do whatever. You could use it to keep doing exploration missions, one-time exploration missions to the moon. You could use them to do hops on the moon if you really want to, right? And then from there, that frees up SLS to be able to build Mars transfer vehicles. At this point, my EUS applications program would be basically using the EUS as a wet workshop to shoot an Orion on a Mars flyby. Mars flyby by 2030, 2031. No problem. Venus flyby by 2032. Remember, 4 launches a year. But by 2032, Starship will be human rated and ready to go. Thousands of Starships will exist. So you don't need to worry about your lunar architecture, right? You don't need to worry about it. But you have your bets hedged this way. No, you could do those flybys. That's fine. You could do those flybys. Give the information to SpaceX, and then SpaceX can do a flyby with Starship. They'll do a flyby by Venus, right? Whatever. Isn't 2028, 2029 very optimistic? The LEM took 6-7 years to be developed, and so we haven't been able to match the Apollo program rates on any of our programs. The reason why, Bill, is because we're building landers that are 10 times more complicated than the LEM. Dude, we have service modules that could do this. Cygnus' service module would make a perfect descent module. Perfect descent stage. We can do this, man. A hypergolic lander is the only thing we have experience in. We could get it done faster. Of course we could. Heck, man. To build this hypergolic lander, tap into the CLIPS program. They're building hypergolic landers right now. Go to Intuitive Machines. Say, build us a descent stage. What are they going to say? No? Go to Astrobotic. Build us an ascent stage, please. This is ridiculous, man. I want to finish this. I want to finish this article. Just like, dude, this drives me up the freaking wall, man. I can't believe this. Additionally, there are no good near-term alternatives to Orion and Starship that will get us to the moon faster. Orion is the only deep space human vehicle for the next several years, and yeah, see, at least he knows. Well, some old space advocates have said that NASA should ditch Starship for a simpler Apollo-style lander. This would subsequently increase NASA's budget, and traditional contractors would almost certainly not deliver space-ready hardware for many years. Wait a minute. How can you make the point that old space contractors are not going to deliver space hardware for many years, but your solution is to put an old space contractor's upper stage on an old space contractor's rocket? Am I having a stroke? What? I mean, to be fair, that's everything that I just said. For what it's worth, that's what I just said. I mean, he's not wrong. I agree with that. That was my solution, but frick me, I guess the old contractors or something. In the long term, making the policy changes described above would be enormously healthy for the Artemis program. They would make NASA's aims clear, focus on lunar surface activities, establish settlements near the South Pole, and determine what resources are there and harvestable. This would give NASA a solid chance to outcompete China on the moon. That country is not messing around with the lunar space station. That country is not messing around with the lunar space station, but would rather concentrate on the surface. Dude, like, I'm trying to be nice, but this is... You didn't think this through. China's funding their program. There's that whole thing. These policy changes would save around $2 billion a year in NASA's deep space budget. The space agency could use these funds for various purposes, including ensuring that its lunar transportation vehicle, pressurized rover, surface habitats, nuclear power stations, and other lunar programs are funded for success rather than starvation. Yeah, because a congressman is going to give up funding in their district so another congressman can get that money, right? That's how this works? Nope. Nope. After decades of confinement to low Earth orbit, NASA finally has a credible program to send humans back into deep space. But with its current approach, the agency is trying to do too many things for too many reasons. It can't simultaneously build a robust presence on the moon and in high orbit around the moon. A simpler approach focusing on the lunar surface is the path most likely to succeed. Now, see, that, I agree. I agree with that part. That's right. Correct. I agree with him about Gateway. Why? Why are you going to do that? Especially since NASA just paid Intuitive Machines $4.2 billion for a lunar relay network. Why make the Gateway? Screw that thing. Screw that thing. Go right down to the moon. I agree. That's right. He's right. That's correct. Your way of getting there is filled with more holes than Swiss cheese, but hey, whatever. Proponents of the Lunar Gateway argue that it adds sustainability to the Artemis program by providing a way station. The problem is that on this way station, in an orbit far from the lunar surface, really isn't on the way to anywhere. To get somewhere, Artemis must avoid going nowhere. Once again, the gist of this entire thing is that Artemis is that... Oh my god. I don't... You missed a piece of foundation. You suck. I'm timing you out. Frick you. You jerk. Now read the comments. This is why Gateway is an MTV prototype. Artemis is supposed to get us to Mars, remember? Practice like you play. But the Gateway is about as useful as a as a Mars transfer vehicle as my frigging 87 Ford is. All right. That's about as my Ford probably is better because at least the Falcon Heavy could launch that to Mars. We know that it could do it. Gateway's freaking useless for doing that. You're not making a Mars transfer vehicle with solar electric propulsion with solar panels. You are out of your freaking mind if that's if you think that's useful. It is absolutely not. Never said they were doing it right, just giving you the why. Okay, all right, that's fair. You have an 87 Ford? Bluefus, the 87 F350. It's Ernox technically, but whatever. I was thinking, I was like, okay, you got it. For this analogy, you need to pick a vehicle. Just pick one. I picked the one that I don't own. Whatever. I mean, like I said, fellas, the flaws in what I'm saying here is that what my plan calls for is a significant increase to NASA's budget. And if people are going to look at me and say, EJ, that's never going to happen. The solution that guy is proposing is to do the opposite of that. I am not 100% sure how you think that is a better solution than my solution, right? Like, fund Artemis, the end. Everything stems from the lack of funding, period. We can rant about solutions all day, but it's really funding above all else. Yes, correct. That's why I keep saying that if I was NASA administrator, I would fund Artemis and give it a goal, a very concrete goal and very concrete deadlines to get that goal done. What would take the most amount of time, Health, is just to untangle the fiasco of contracting structure that is SLS. The contracting structure is a huge problem because it's all stopgaps. The whole thing is all stopgaps. It's a temporary solution on top of a temporary solution on top of a temporary solution. That needs to be changed. Needs to be changed. If I had to launch a car to Mars, I would choose a car that's not mine too. You know what, Andrew? That's a good point. Sorry, Ernok. Can you smoke and go to space? Smoke and go to space. Cigarettes? The devil's cabbage? Dude, I wouldn't want to get high on orbit. We've talked about this. I wouldn't want to get high or drunk in space. Because if you know, you blaze one and you start getting paranoid, and this window on the spaceship, man, it could break at any time, man. We got to tape it up. It could break. We don't want it to break, man. You don't want to be paranoid up in space. That would be awful. And being drunk in space would just be awful. Projectile vomiting in space would make you do flips, and it would make it worse. You don't want to do that. That would make a mess. I do think that removing the gateway is a good idea for nothing else but to force NASA to have to go to the surface. Yeah, Lazarus, it all plays back to this notion that NASA has that the Apollo program was somehow not sustainable, which is the funniest that is the funniest thing that I've ever heard anybody from NASA say. The Apollo program wasn't sustainable. Oh yeah? Could a Saturn V could a Saturn V build gateway? Go ahead. I'll wait. Could a Saturn V build gateway? Could it? Oh yeah, it could. It'd do it better than SLS. So what program's not sustainable again? Could you do the entire Artemis program end to end with a Saturn V, the LEM, and the CSM? Absolutely. So what's not sustainable here? Yeah, it'd probably end up being cheaper. Yeah. Funny. So what program is sustainable? That's bullcrap. That is bullcrap. It is bullcrap. Apollo is way more sustainable. You could do everything that we want to do with SLS and Block 1B with a Saturn V, and you don't need another version of it to do it. Things that make you go, you know, like, what? What are you talking about? The Saturn V is infinitely more capable. You could build a gateway. The Saturn V could have a gateway built in less than a year. With 4 launches annually, which is what we were doing with the Saturn V. That somehow wasn't sustainable. Can you smoke and go to space? You've asked 3 times and I've answered you twice, Zeb. So, I mean, you got to keep up, dude. So, what was more unsustainable here, for real? I would contend to say that our program that does nothing isn't very sustainable for spaceflight. It's sustainable politically, and that's great, but they're not mutually exclusive. The Apollo program proves this. You can have a jobs program and send people to the moon. Zeb, yeah, you could, but I don't think NASA would. Fire in a spacecraft is generally frowned upon. That's your short answer. Apollo's plan at the time wasn't sustainable. What isn't sustainable? What are you talking about? How is it not sustainable, Ben? How? Apollo wanted to build bases on the moon. That's where they were going to go with it. They were going to use uncrewed Saturn V's to basically use in lunar descent modules to land bases on the moon. Land HAB components and then send the LEM down there. And do extended duration stays on the moon. Simultaneously, it also was going to launch Skylab. Skylab is part of the Apollo applications program. Skylab was a prototype transfer vehicle. Guys, not a lot of people know that. Skylab was your prototype Mars transfer vehicle. Actually, technically, it's your Venusian transfer vehicle. Because the Apollo program wasn't going to go to Mars after they went to the moon. It was going to go to Venus. They wanted to do Venusian flybys. And they basically have a Skylab on top of Saturn V, and it wouldn't be a full Skylab. It would be like the front part of Skylab. So you'd have an S4B shoot on a transvenusian injection, or TVI for short, right? And then the CSM would turn around like it would go pluck the LEM off of the S4B, and it would just sit there. And then you have a space station module attached to that upper stage, and you do a flyby with that. The Saturn V architecture could get you to Venus on a flyby with what was made, with what was invented, with what we had in 1972. You had end to end from the ground to the surface of the moon and back. Slight modifications to that architecture, you could build a moon base. With what was made, you could do a Venus flyby with what we had already. So what's not more sustainable? The Apollo program architecture is flexible as hell. You could do whatever the hell you want with it. But the most important one is, it's more sustainable because it fucking worked. Hello? Why go to Venus? Venus flybys, man. And on top of all that, they did more studies than I can count into improved Saturn V, some of which were partially or even fully reusable, and some of them were later cut down and evolved into the shuttle, correct? Yeah, of course. Yeah, this unsustainable nonsense, Deadstorm, the sustainable, unsustainable, cost, too expensive, not expensive enough bullshit with spaceflight is ridiculous. How the hell do you know how much it's going to cost to send somebody to Mars? You know dick. You know why you know dick? Because we haven't done it. Not you, right? We haven't done it. We send somebody to the moon, so we got a good idea about how much that's going to cost. And now we're trying to do it again. And we somehow think that we can do it for less money to develop the architecture to get there. No, not how that works. Hello? Just because Henry Ford made the Model T 100 years ago doesn't mean that if I tried to make a car right now, I wouldn't have struggle and it wouldn't be expensive to make. That's ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Why do we think the sustainability nonsense? How many people have touched the moon? 12. I wish you did. I'm 1 degree of separation from the surface of the moon, Zeb. I shook a guy's hand that walked on it. So Bush League, dude. Anyway. Should have shook his foot. You would have been closer. Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's badass. Who? I interviewed Charlie Duke on this stream. Charlie Duke. He was on Apollo 16 with John Young. Your hat misspelled Chevrolet. Oh, thank you for letting me know you can't read, Trix. Appreciate it. Typical Chevy fan. Is it on YouTube? Ellisers, it's around. I don't know where it ended up. A little while back, Twitch made basically everybody scrub their VODs clean, so I don't know where that ended up. I'll have to find it. Trix, you walked into it, homie. I don't know what to tell you. Ugh.
Discovery, go at throttle.
59 months. Twitch is making you post this. Yeah, they do that. Yeah, I played Kerbal with Charlie Duke. That's right. He watched me launch a Saturn V in KSP. Yep. Can I shake your foot? Yeah. He'd probably be like, "No, get away from me. Bye."
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Shaw, 111 months. 111. I guess they're making you post that as well. Yep. Yeah, Zeb, I've talked to all kinds of astronauts. Garrett Reisman, Mike Massimino, Charlie Duke. Not as much as Sawyer. Not as much as my buddy Sawyer at NSF, but I've talked to Pam Melroy before. At Intrepid, believe it or not. Yeah, good stuff. You're laughing a little there. I was like, oh no. Charlie signed your Snoopy? That's awesome, Pete. That's cool. But yeah, guys, I'm sorry. I'm super skeptical of anyone that says,
this is space.
you know,
I'm in space.
this money could be allocated better when it comes to anything with NASA. The reason why is because, well, your heart's in the right place. That's great. You know, good intentions. The road to hell is paved in good intentions. Trying to do that, implying that NASA can just reallocate funds from one program to another is demonstrating a fundamental misunderstanding for how NASA gets funded in the first place. They can't just shift funds around. They can't do that. You can't shift funds around. What's your favorite question to ask them? Astronauts? Do you have a wallet that says BAMF on it by any chance? Hired, gifted a sub to Pale Carnage. Thank you. Do you have a wallet that says bad melon farmer on it by any chance? Like, maybe? Do you think NASA should be given the power to do that? No. No, absolutely not. Why, Cryo, that's circumventing the checks and balances system that we have with how NASA is funding. You're circumventing the entire legislative branch, which signs law, which means NASA can circumvent the law. Not a good precedent to set. For a government agency, that's a really bad idea. Yeah, that's a really bad idea. No. No. Not Banff. It says Banff. Alberta. Oh, okay. Yeah. Berta. Jared gave your oldest daughter a mission patch off of his flight suit when he flew it in Tico for Inspiration 4. Cool. Alberta. Never met him. Yeah, me neither. See, here, look at the graphic that Eric posted. See these two? Those two things right there, coupled with this, is an extremely potent architecture. It's no Saturn V, don't get me wrong. It's no Saturn V, But heck, dude, you don't even need that one. Screw that one. Just these two right here, 1 and 2. Those are perfect. That's perfect. Those are great. With these two, you could run a pretty potent looter program, but you need a lander to go into that universal stage adapter. Nah, I'm greedy. I want block 2. Nice, Grimlock. Yeah, these two right here. I would push for this. Push for this. Give me 3 launches of this a year, 1 launch of that a year. Right? Put a big hypergolic lander on this sucker and then use this to build, to bring the payloads to said lander. Give this thing enough hypergols to be able to get back to the moon twice. You know, go up and down from the surface. 2 times. Sure. That, like, once again, you could come up with a damn potent architecture with those 2 vehicles for not that much more money. But the solution is to give it a less powerful stage than the one it has now? That's no solution. What are you, crazy? Are Block 2's SRB one solid SRB? Those are placeholder boosters hired. We don't know what Block 2 is going to use. Actually, no. Screw that. That's wrong. That would have been current news in 2018. Excuse me. SLS Block 2 is going to use carbon composite SRBs, increasing SLS's throw weight to even more. Sorry, I misremembered. Yeah, they're going to use Omegas, segmented carbon composite SRBs, and shave probably about 10,000 pounds off of the booster weight. Yeah, because SLS doesn't need reusable boosters. The boosters that it flies with right now are leftover casings from the shuttle program, just like the shuttle main engines. SLS heavy. 3 core stages? I don't know if it would take off, but that would certainly be cool. Dude, how about we put RS-68. We have liquid fuel boosters on the sides that are 3 RS-68s. A tri-core RS-68. I don't think that would be enough. You'd need 4, but it doesn't matter. That sounds very Kerbal. Yeah. Dude, once again, even these 2 right here, those 2 would be fine. That would be great. If we could get this cargo fairing. See, I frick that fairing. Frick the 8.4 meter fairing. What the hell are you going to do with that? Design a 1B cargo with that 10 meter fairing right off the bat. Design it with a 10 meter fairing. With this sucker, with that fairing on top of this rocket, with these 2 right here. Oh, hell yeah, I'm in. Also, this graphic is outdated. Block 1B has a 100-ton throw weight, by the way, because of optimizations that were made throughout the program. Yeah, I have that from somebody that works at Michoud. Block 1 can throw 100 tons. And if Block 1 can throw 100 tons, Block 1B could throw 130 easily. That's insane. That's really good capacity. That's up there with Starship. I mean, not reusable, but it's up there with Starship. I mean, it just kind of goes to show you how insane Starship actually is. 8.4 is still way bigger than anything else, but yeah, I agree. I mean, Shaw, here's the thing. It's not, though. It's close to New Glenn. New Glenn's a 7 meter fairing. So you have 7 meter cargo capability there. Why not if you're going to make an 8.4 meter fairing, why not make a 10 meter fairing? NASA's supposed to be pushing the edge here, right? Frick that fairing. That thing sucks. Give me this. Take this fairing, put it on this rocket, and build these 2. That's it. That's all. You take your ascent module, put it inside of the universal stage adapter, and make a reusable descent module or something. I don't know. That wouldn't work. That wouldn't make any sense. Take that, have that be your HAB module. Attach your HAB module to the top. Reusable. Build a lander that's big enough to land down on the moon 2 times. Right? 1B cargo could throw that thing out there, no problem. Easy peasy. The habitation and logistics outpost, Andrew, is what they forgot to incorporate the wiring harness mass into total mass design. Like, dude, that right there is fine. That gives NASA something that's even somewhat remotely comparable to the Apollo program. I don't get what. I don't get it, dude. I don't get why you why you think this is, I mean, the entire thing here is predicated off NASA being able to reappropriate funds, which they can't. Whatever. Tara, thanks for the raid. Rabble. Oh, we've been doing some rabbling. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Yeah. Apollo Apogee. Hello. What's up, Terror Raiders? How are you? You guys know my buddy Gerard. He's a good dude. Gerard, just shout yourself out. I know you won't do it. If you don't do it, I'm going to do it. Hey, Tiger Fang. What's up, dude? The SLS is a budgetary line item. NASA can't move that money. You'd be foolish to think that they could. Like, that is completely... Like, oh, well, if NASA had more money, they could do that. Like, what? What are you talking about, man? Shout out EJ. Nice. Dara, thank you for the raid. I'm concluding space news and I'm going to go finish my stupid railroads in workers. That concludes